The sun was already climbing high in the sky. It was a shame he had to go to the office. Jasmine had an advanced management class to attend. Anyway, Cole carried his big sister to the bathroom again, waiting on her like she was a child as she washed up, then helping her get dressed, right down to her shoes. His care was meticulous. He even tried to help with her hair, but the result was a disaster. Jasmine preened, enjoying her little brother's doting. The last shadows of doubt in her heart had vanished during their passionate night. Her mind and body felt clear. She spoiled her brother, and he spoiled her. It was perfect. Everything else was insignificant. As they were about to leave, she wrapped her arms around Cole's neck, her eyes shimmering with tenderness. "Kiss me." They shared a loud, smacking kiss. Jasmine stroked his cheek. "You be good in the office, you hear me?" "I will, sis," Cole said, feeling a little guilty. "And you need to exercise strict self-control." "No funny business," Jasmine demanded, her own face perfectly composed, despite the fact that she was the one who had been the most insatiable, repeatedly losing her own self-discipline. "Okay, sis," Cole replied obediently. He dropped Jasmine off at the university before heading to the company. After a week of intense negotiations with the city and state governments, there was finally a result. Cole had built his case on several key pillars. His company's ability to drive the rapid growth of Rockford's mobile internet economy, boost cultural tourism and commerce, provide flexible employment opportunities, and maintain outstanding cash flow. That was his core competitive advantage. In the end, he got the land, all 3,167 acres of it. They gave him the entire parcel. The total price was just over $200 million. But because the R&D center was classified as industrial land and was projected to bring immense added value to the area, the price per acre was half that of commercial residential land. Better yet, he didn't have to pay it all at once. He had a year, with the payments split into 3 installments. This gave Cole significant breathing room. The resistance over the past week had been immense. Cole had swooped in just before a major developer, overseas Chinese town, could close the deal, seizing the initiative. The land had originally been sold to a local Rockford real estate company, but they had run into cash flow problems, and a deal had fallen through, landing in the lap of OCT. OCT was a state-owned enterprise, their financial power immense. As soon as they got word of Cole's interest, they had descended on Rockford to compete. On capital alone, OCT had the absolute advantage. No matter how much of a cash king Cole was, he couldn't compete with them. But OCT wanted to build commercial housing, and Rockford wasn't short on that kind of development. What Rockford needed was something that would look good on the mayor's political resume. Cole's project was the perfect choice. Plus, his plan involved no high-rise buildings, which complied with the construction requirements for the North Lake shoreline. The Rockford city government gritted its teeth, ignored the stated preference of a certain high-ranking state official, and approved the sale to Cole directly. With the support of Vanessa Phan's father and several other key leaders, the state government ultimately signed off as well. Cole had no idea how many political battles had been fought on his behalf. The only thing he could do was cooperate fully with the state and city governments in the future. And most importantly, he had to firmly align himself with Vanessa's father's faction. It had been an exhausting week. His 3 little babies hadn't disturbed him. They were either in class or handling their own work at the company. Yvonne had been by his side constantly, but she was either running around with him or holding down the fort at the office when he was out. The letter of intent for the partnership with Huawei Cloud Services had also been signed. Next up was finding an architectural and design firm. He handed that task to Vanessa. She had the connections. Everything was moving forward, step by step, in an orderly fashion. Knock, knock, knock. The office door opened, and Yvonne walked in. She wore a crisp, white professional sheath dress and beige heels. Cole was in the middle of a discussion with Wyatt about the R&D center's interior design. He glanced up at Yvonne. The dress was new and fit her perfectly, revealing slender, smooth calves with an elegant line. "Mr. Chun, Mandy Meng from the Boston regional office is asking you to make a trip out there. The FCC is holding a seminar on healthy internet development. She's not senior enough to attend. They're requiring a CEO presence." "Okay, fine. I'll go," Cole nodded. These meetings were mandatory. In the future, his job would mostly consist of attending conferences, issuing high-level directives, and finding more commercial opportunities for BeatDrop. 4G wasn't widespread yet, so the app still had a long, ordinary road ahead. Fortunately, smartphone penetration was getting higher and higher. As long as they kept innovating on features and strategy, they would stay at the forefront of the mobile internet. Right now, ConnectSphere and QuickVid were imitating their every move. Cole wasn't afraid of being copied. He was afraid of his rivals innovating. We really need to get you an executive assistant, Yvonne said after a moment's thought. She had her own assistants, but it was absurd that the CEO of the entire company didn't have one. Her own workload was massive now. She could no longer be at his beck and call to deliver documents or manage a schedule. The other 3 VPs all had their own duties. Being a VP and a secretary at the same time just wasn't sustainable if she was going to do her main job properly. Fine, find someone for me. Someone sharp, Cole agreed. He had to admit he needed the support. All right, I'll let Ms. Young know, Yvonne said. She wouldn't handle the search herself. That was HR's job. But Cole's personal assistant was a critical role. The candidate absolutely could not be too pretty, or clumsy, or have too good a figure, or be too pale, or be unable to keep her mouth shut. A long list of cannots instantly flooded Yvonne's mind. A man wouldn't work either. With the 4 of them constantly in and out of his office, having a guy around would be awkward. Cole mumbled, his attention already back on his conversation with Wyatt. He didn't have time to think about it. Whoever they picked, they picked. Mr. Chun, about the conference. Will you be taking anyone with you? Yvonne leaned against the edge of his desk, crossing her legs, a move that highlighted the allure of her heels. Who would I take? I heard the conference isn't that big. Cole's reply was absent-minded. You'll need someone to help you organize information. Mandy is a bit of a bull in a china shop. I'm not sure she'd do a good job, Yvonne said, her eyes shimmering with a light that was practically a neon sign. Mandy Meng, the head of the Boston office, was her direct subordinate, a capable general. Oh, but you've got too much on your plate. You can't get away, Cole said, clicking open a floor plan Wyatt had sent him. It was the layout for the entire R&D center. Data storage, project R&D departments, an AI research lab, cafeteria, green spaces, a gym, basketball courts, tennis courts. I've already arranged everything. It's no problem for me to be gone for a few days. The department will run itself, Yvonne said, a note of urgency in her voice. These past few days, Cole had been so busy it was just work and sleep. She'd been so swamped, she hadn't even had time to buy new stockings. This business trip was a rare opportunity for them to be alone. The other 3 certainly couldn't accompany him. You're busy. I'll be fine on my own. It's just for a day or 2, Cole said, gently refusing. A simple seminar with no other complications was something he could handle alone. It was Ms. Yang's idea. You're not to travel alone on business. It's in the safety management regulations. Yvonne finally played her trump card, invoking the name of the First Lady. Cole looked up, staring blankly at her. Safety management regulations? That's right. It's a new policy. One of the articles states that you are not permitted to travel on business by yourself. You must have someone with you. If Ms. Yang, Ms. Shun, or Ms. and cannot accompany you, then it's me. Yvonne crossed her arms, a smug look on her face. It was a legitimate concern for his safety to prevent people from using women to get close to him, snapping photos of them traveling together and starting rumors about them hooking up. Even though Cole would have bodyguards, they wouldn't be in the same room with him. Oh, is that so? Cole blinked. If it was a rule Jasmine had made, he would obey. He nodded in acceptance. All right, then you'll come with me. Just make sure your work is handled. Don't worry, I'll go arrange it right now, Yvonne said, her expression serene, nodding with great solemnity as if she were undertaking a mission of grave importance. Inwardly, her heart was about to burst with joy. Her 23 years of celibacy were finally coming to an end. She refused to believe Cole would be able to resist. Yvonne forced herself to walk in normal pace out of the office, but her face was burning and her heart was hammering in her chest. The thought alone was thrilling. She hurried back to her own office, delegated the next few days' work to her department heads, and then sent a message to the First Lady. Yvonne is young, Mr. Chen's schedule is getting incredibly packed. Should we consider getting him an executive assistant? A CEO of his stature without a dedicated assistant. Headline today was probably the only company of its size where that was the case. It was a testament to how much Cole valued those 3 women. Normally, Yvonne was the one who did the work of a secretary, but she was just too busy now. A few minutes later, Jasmine replied. Jasmine, fine. I'll pick someone from HR. If there's no one suitable, we'll recruit externally. Yvonne, understood, Ms. Young. We should do it as quickly as possible. We need to start putting together a formal schedule for him. Yvonne understood immediately. With an HR department that large, it was impossible there wasn't a single person who could be a secretary. What no one suitable really meant was no one who met the requirements. She'd bet her life the First Lady was thinking the exact same thing she was. Before long, news that they were selecting an exclusive assistant for Mr. Chun spread throughout the company. Jasmine posted a notice directly in the main company group chat, listing the job responsibilities, but leaving out certain requirements. She asked any interested employees to post a photo of themselves in the chat. The employees erupted in discussion. I thought Mr. Chin never wanted an assistant. He's probably just got too much to do now. I'd love to apply. Can guys apply? I want to go for it. What do you think? In the recruitment department. Yeah, you've probably got a shot. You're the prettiest one in our department. Oh, I wouldn't be that lucky, Jia said with a bashful smile, but her heart was full of hope. In the administration department. Ling, your time has come. The rest of us probably don't stand chance. Put in a good word for us when you make it. Don't say that. I'm so clumsy, Mr. Chin would never pick me. Ling was petite and delicate, but her figure and face were decent. The lower-level employees in each department rarely interacted with Jasmine. They only dealt with their direct supervisors, or at most, their directors. They didn't know Jasmine well, especially the newer hires. The head of administration, a woman named Finn, walked in. Everyone, post a candid photo of yourself in the group chat. No makeup. A bare-faced photo. What? Finn, all of us. Yes, every single one of you. If you really don't want a job, then you don't have to post. Okok. Finn, I think I'll pass, said a small, thin girl with glasses, sitting in a corner, her voice weak. She felt she had no chance. She was new, and there was nothing remarkable about her. Finn looked her over, a faint smile playing on her lips. Amy, you're posting one. This was Amy Huang. She was a junior from small town in Georgia. She was 5'2" and very thin. Her personality was a bit timid, but she was extremely obedient. But I don't have any candid photos. Amy hesitated. That's fine, we'll take one now. Come on, stand against the wall. Give me your phone. Finn motioned for her to stand in an empty space, using the white wall as a backdrop. Finn, my phone's no good. Amy's face flushed crimson. She was still using an old Nokia. The camera was busted, and any pictures it took were blurry. Don't worry, use mine. I'll send it for you. Finn's smile grew wider. Amy had no choice but to stand there. She wasn't going to be chosen anyway. It was just a picture. Click, click. Finn snapped 2 photos and posted them to the group chat, labeling them with the name Amy Huang. The photo was brutally honest. If you looked down, you could see your toes. Nothing jutting out in the front, nothing curving out in the back. Her features were pleasant enough, but she wore thick, high-prescription glasses. Her colleagues glanced at the photo and figured she was just a token entry. Meanwhile, the employees with nice figures and pretty faces were giving it their all. They picked out their best candid shots. Some took new selfies on the spot, flashing their most sincere, adorable, or what they considered their most generous smiles. The male employees were all a little jealous, starting their own private chats. Looks like they're holding a beauty pageant. I doubt it. Could anyone be more beautiful than our First Lady? You never know. Maybe Mr. Chun wants to start a harem. Hasn't he already? The more the merrier. It took half an hour for everyone to post their photos. The group chat was flooded with pictures. Each one was radiant, sweet and cute, quiet and serene, like the girl next door, elegant and refined, like the perfect secretarial template. In the family committee group chat, the 3 little babies and Vice President Yvonne were making their selections. They watched the main chat while discussing with grave seriousness. Luna, this one's a pass. Too big. Serena, this one is too pale. And it's a shot from behind, looking over her shoulder. Too round. No. Jasmine, let's pass on this one too. Her eyes are a little too seductive. Yvonne, her features are too distracting. It'll affect work efficiency. Pass. One by one, they were all eliminated. Then Serena sent another message. This one's good. Her features are proper, and she has a dignified air. You could tell she's sharp and virtuous just by looking at her. She copied and pasted a picture. The name was Amy Huang. Jasmine, not bad. She seemed pretty good. Luna, let's go with her then. I think she's suitable too. Yvonne, yep. And if she's an administrative management major, that's even better. Jasmine, let me check. A moment later, she typed again. She's in the business school, administrative management major. She's new, but her work ethic is excellent. Couldn't be more perfect. 5 minutes later, in the administration department of Headline Today, Finn walked in and called out to the girl in the corner. Amy, come with me to Mr. Chen's office. Huh? Me? Amy was stunned, her eyes wide with bewilderment, her mouth hanging open. The other female employees stared in shock. They'd chosen Amy Huang? Disappointment and envy filled their eyes, along with a million questions. What kind of company chooses a secretary by picking the opposite of what everyone expects? Weren't they supposed to be curvy where it counts and petite where it matters? And above all, beautiful? Yes, you. From now on, you're Mr. Chen's executive assistant. Let's go. Don't keep the boss waiting, Finn said, a knowing look on her face. Oh, okay. Amy stood up, still in a daze. Bring your personal things with you, Finn said with a smile. Amy looked at Finn nervously. Then, Finn, am I not coming back here? What would you come back here for? From now on, your desk will be outside Mr. Chen's office. You don't need to bring anything. Now hurry up and come with me. Finn was getting impatient, waving her over. Oh, okay. Amy quickly gathered her things. Followed by the envious gazes of her colleagues, she left. In the CEO's office, a knock sounded, and Cole called out, "Come in." Finn led a timid Amy Huang into the room. "Mr. Chun, this is the assistant we've selected for you. Her name is Amy Huang." "Okay, Finn," Cole said with a smile. Finn had already graduated, but he was still used to calling her by her first name like an upperclassman. He looked at his new assistant. As expected, she was exactly what he'd had in mind. Seeing how nervous the girl was, Cole waved his hand dismissively. "Amy Huang, right? Relax. The work can be complex, but once you get the hang of it, it's easy. You'll adapt quickly." "Okay, Mr. Chun." Amy nodded and bowed hastily. She only ever saw Mr. Chun walking past sometimes. This was the first time she'd ever spoken to him. Cole asked another question. "By the way, are you able to travel for business? If you have a boyfriend who might mind, you don't have to go." No boyfriend. I can travel," Amy said, her mind still a bit of a mess. But she knew that being Mr. Chen's assistant came with great benefits. Business travel was certainly not a problem. "Good. Tomorrow you'll go to D.C. with me and Ms. Wang," Cole said, relieved. He was worried she might have a boyfriend who would misunderstand the situation. "Okay, Mr. Chun. All right, apply for a work expense reimbursement. For clothes, cosmetics, that sort of thing. Write up the request now, and I'll sign it immediately. Go buy a couple of suitable outfits tonight," Cole said in a commanding tone. As his assistant, Amy's current attire wouldn't do. She would be meeting a lot of important people. She'd be too timid. Unsettled, Cole reminded her, buy good quality, well-fitting clothes. If you can wear heels, wear them. If not, casual shoes are fine. "Oh, okay, Mr. Chun." Amy was so flustered, all she could do was nod. "Good. Go write up the request now. Finn, you can walk her through it." "Of course, Mr. Chun," Finn nodded. After leaving the office, Amy gradually calmed down. She had hit the jackpot, and in that moment, she understood exactly why she had been chosen. A warm current flowed through her. From now on, she wasn't just little Amy or that girl over there. She was Ms. Huang, the executive assistant. "Amy, come to my office to write up the request," Finn said with a smile. "Okay, Finn. Thank you," Amy said gratefully. She had Finn to thank for even having this chance. She would remember this kindness. She knew she wasn't very competitive in the workplace. Most likely, she would have just kept working like this until she got married and had kids. But now everything was different. She was the CEO's assistant. Once they were seated in Finn's office, Finn spoke seriously. "Let me give you the detailed rundown of your responsibilities." "Okay, Finn. Aside from the daily scheduling, document processing, and relaying notifications, the most important thing is to remember not to offend the 4 vice presidents. Ms. Yang, Ms. Shun, Ms. and Ms. Wang. You were ultimately chosen by them." "Yes, I understand. Also, if they go into his office, you stand guard. If they haven't come out and someone else wants to go in, you must notify them first. If any woman other than them goes in, you're to stay inside with them and not leave." "I've got it, Finn." After the thorough briefing, Finn said, "Okay, take this and go get it signed." "Shouldn't I write in an amount?" Amy asked, a little surprised. "Not for now. You don't know how much you'll need for clothes and makeup. Just go buy what you need and bring back the receipts," Finn said, a trace of envy in her eyes. This was all per Ms. Yang's instructions, a completely legitimate company expense. She continued, "After you get the signature, come back and find me. I'll walk you through the procedures." "Okay, Finn." That evening, as Amy was shopping at the mall with a classmate she dragged along, she discovered that $100,000 had suddenly appeared in her bank account. A message from her supervisor, Finn, followed. "Here's $100,000 for your discretionary fund. Remember to book flights for Mr. Chun and Ms. Wang tomorrow morning. Ask Mr. Chun in advance what time he'd like to depart. You need to arrange for food, lodging, and transportation. Once you confirm the departure time, book the hotel. If you're really not sure what to do, ask Ms. Wang. And remember to keep all the receipts." "Okay, thank you, Finn," Amy replied, full of gratitude. The job seemed simple, but the details were overwhelming. She was most afraid of causing delays. Without someone guiding her in the beginning, she would have been completely lost. The next morning, Amy discovered things were even easier than she had thought. Ms. Wang had already arranged everything. All she had to do was follow behind and carry their bags. In the airport lounge, Amy noticed how close Ms. Wang was with Mr. Chun. Ms. Wang placed Mr. Chun's hand on her own thigh, massaging it while speaking to him in a low voice. Amy had only ever heard the rumors. Now she was seeing it with her own eyes. She glanced once and then pretended she hadn't seen a thing. After boarding, Mr. Chun and Ms. Wang were in first class, while she and the two male bodyguards were in the adjacent business class. This was more than enough to satisfy her. It was her first time flying, and in such a nice seat. Gazing at the clouds outside the window, her heart soared. When they arrived at the airport in D.C., two cars from the regional branch were already waiting. Mandy Meng, whom she hadn't seen in a long time, was waiting respectfully by the car. One was her direct superior, the other was the big boss. She had to come and greet them personally. Boss, Ms. Wang. Mandy was a veteran employee. She was casual with her titles, sometimes calling him Mr. Chun, other times just boss. Cole, of course, didn't mind. He smiled and said, Mandy, you should hit the gym. Mandy was even plumper now, fair-skinned and soft-looking. I don't want to. The gym is too tiring, and you have to diet. That would be the death of me, Mandy said with a pained expression, her voice tinged with a D.C. accent. She wanted to work out, but she couldn't handle the hardship. The Boston regional office, now based in D.C., for its proximity to federal power, had a new address somewhere between the 3rd and 4th Beltway interchanges. They had rented half a floor in an office building. The price was steep, but for the convenience of major clients visiting, the office couldn't be too far from the city center. It was no longer the small, dozen-person operation it used to be. It was now a fully staffed office with over 100 employees. The two promoters Mandy had originally brought with her were now directors. They had all made it. Boss, Ms. Wang, old friend, your hairline has crept back even further, Cole said, shaking his hand and teasing him. Huh, boss, I call this my genius line, the two directors, both former upperclassmen, said visibly excited, especially in front of all the other employees. Listen to that. What did the boss call me? An old friend. This was a huge boost to their authority. Amid their excitement, they were also filled with emotion. One thing about Mr. Chun was truly great. He had no airs about him. It was an act. He genuinely didn't care about status. They respected Ms. Wang, but for Mr. Chun, beyond respect, they felt a deep sense of belonging. Standing beside them, Yvonne sighed internally. Cole always managed to remember the faces of his earliest employees. He could tell them all apart. So many departments, and he remembered them all. Cole followed Mandy and the others on a tour of the new office. He was very satisfied with the overall environment. There might be some internal competition he couldn't see, but that was fine. Every company had that. No workplace was a perfect utopia. Lunch was at a restaurant next to the office, just a regular place. Just as they finished eating, Cole's phone rang. It was an unfamiliar D.C. number. Curious, he answered. Hello. Hello, is this Mr. Chun? A man's voice, sounding like he was in his 30s, came from the other end. Yes, this is he. Who's calling? I am secretary, he's assistant. Are you free this evening? Mr. He would like to invite you to his home for dinner. Mr. He? Oh, yes, I'm free. Is 6 o'clock all right? Cole paused for a second before it clicked. Serena's grandfather wanted to see him? What for? He didn't ask, just agreed. The voice on the other end replied, that works. Please give me the name of your hotel. I will send a car to pick you up. It will arrive punctually at 5:30. Okay, thank you. He spent the afternoon at the office, getting briefed on the seminar. At 4 o'clock, he headed to the hotel, the Crown Plaza in Zhongwankan, a 5-star hotel inside the 4th ring, only 5 or 6 miles from the International Convention Center. He had a suite. It was different from the one he'd stayed in for last year's conference. This one was divided into a bedroom and a small office with no balcony. The bedroom had 2 chaise lounges, and the bathroom had a large bathtub. Time was limited, so the tub was out of the question. He took a quick shower to freshen up. He told Yvonne and Amy to stay behind and rest in the room. He went downstairs alone and got into the black red flag sedan that was waiting for him, not even bringing his bodyguards. From a high-floor window, Yvonne watched the car's taillights disappear into the distance, her heart filled with worry. She had no idea where the He family lived, but they must be acquaintances. She turned to Amy. Amy, you go back to your room and rest. There's nothing else for tonight. Okay, Ms. Wang. Amy nodded. She figured Ms. Wang probably wouldn't be sleeping in their shared room tonight. Besides the suite, they had booked 2 standard rooms. The 2 bodyguards had one. She and Ms. Wong had the other. Now, a bed was going to waste. Remembering Finn's advice, she kept her expression neutral and left the room naturally, constantly reminding herself to forget what she'd just seen. After Amy left, Yvonne excitedly dashed in the bathroom. The bathtub was huge. It could definitely fit 2 people, and the hotel was thoughtful, providing a disposable liner for the tub. No need to worry about hygiene. She started running the water. She'd test it out first, get a feel for it. The bottom was a little hard. It hurt her knees to kneel. Maybe it would be better with more water? Yes, the edge was very sturdy. She could stand up and hold on to it securely. Then she walked over to the full-length mirror in the dressing area. She turned sideways, bent over, and stuck out her rear. Not quite satisfied, she arched her back a little more. Perfect. What a beautiful day. Yvonne threw herself onto the massive bed, letting out a series of happy hums. After a moment of giggling, she slid down, her upper body draped over the edge of the bed. Perfect height. She kicked off her heels and crawled back onto the bed. She tried kneeling on it. The elasticity was excellent. This hotel was getting 5 stars. Then she lay on her back, lifted her legs, and bounced her hips twice. Not bad at all. Super effortless. Next, she tried lying on her side, then at an angle, then on her stomach with her, but in the air. She tested out every possible position. After she was done, she lay on her back, staring blankly at the ceiling. A few seconds later, she suddenly covered her burning face with her hands and kicked her feet wildly, letting out a series of shy, giggling hums. Near rush hour D.C. Traffic was a nightmare. It was 6:15 by the time Cole arrived at the Heath family residence. It was his first time here. The place was incredibly serene, surrounded by trees, with the outlines of neighboring houses visible only intermittently through the woods, each nearly 100 yards apart. There was a uniformed guard at the gate. It was an old acquaintance. He smiled when he saw Cole, but didn't speak. Cole returned the smile. Inside the gate was a small garden, with flowers and plants lining both sides. To the right, he could see what looked like a vegetable patch in the yard, with a rain shelter over it. The whole atmosphere felt a bit like a countryside courtyard. The assistant wasn't there. An old man was sitting in the yard. It was Serena's grandfather. He didn't stand up, just smiled and beckoned him over. Cole, you're here. Come, have a seat. Hello, Grandpa. Cole was very polite this time. He didn't call him Mr. He, but followed Serena's lead and called him Grandpa. Good. The old man laughed happily. As Cole walked over, he glanced up inadvertently. On the second floor, the curtain of a window was lifted and then dropped again. Cole knew what that meant. It was probably the old dragon lady under house arrest. What a princess. Over 40 and still being spoiled by her family. That was fine. He would spoil Serena just the same when she was 50. After he sat down, a housekeeper brought him some tea. Cole, been busy lately? The old man asked. Yes, Grandpa. Things have gotten a lot busier at the company, Cole answered, his tone casual but respectful. What exactly does your company do? I've heard about it, but I don't quite understand. It's a type of media that uses the internet as its medium. Information spreads quickly, and anyone with a phone or computer can see it. Oh, I see. So it requires a high level of scientific support, right? Yes, Grandpa. I just acquired a piece of land in Rockford to build an R&D campus. We'll have a lot of computer science talent there. No wonder. I heard from an old friend that a state-owned enterprise lost out on a land deal in Rockford. Turns out it was you little rascal. Grandpa, I wouldn't dare compete with a state-owned enterprise. I really had no choice. That piece of land was the most suitable, and a lot of my employees are students. To make it convenient for them, I had to swallow my pride and beg the local government to let me have it. Maybe they saw my sincerity and cut me some slack in the end. Good. Victorious, but not arrogant. A young man with an old soul. Excellent. The old man roared with laughter. The old man and the young man chatted for a while before he finally got to the point. Cole, here's the thing. Ever since your Aunt Helen came back, she's been moping around. There's been a bit of a misunderstanding between her and your Uncle David. Your uncle just left 2 days ago, and they haven't resolved it yet. Cole, you bear some responsibility for this. The old man sighed, looking at Cole, a deep meaning in his slightly cloudy eyes. He continued, there's no absolute right or wrong. Your Aunt Helen is acting from a mother's perspective, and you're acting from yours. Serena has taken your side, but that doesn't mean your Aunt Helen is completely in the wrong. Cole's expression was serious, but he didn't speak, trying to decipher the old man's intentions. Was this to his advantage, or was there new trouble brewing? But it didn't seem like he was looking for trouble. A smile appeared on the old man's wrinkled face. After all, Serena's excellence is ultimately inseparable from your Aunt Helen's discipline. You agree with that, don't you? Yes, I acknowledge that, Cole nodded. What a cunning old fox. He had hit the nail on the head. The old dragon lady undoubtedly deserved credit for Serena's excellence. That was undeniable. People were complex. Emotion and reason were intertwined, and both states had multiple facets. Cole couldn't deny some of the old dragon lady's contributions. Serena's self-discipline and upbringing were cultivated. The old man's gaze was fixed on Cole's face, as if he didn't want to miss a single flicker of expression. He spoke slowly. You and Serena have reached this point, and it's not just about the two of you anymore. Your Aunt Helen, me, Serena's uncles, and your Uncle David, we're all tied into this. From the moment you two got together, this connection became unbreakable. Sigh. He let out another heavy sigh. Originally, if Serena had never met you and had gone down a different path, that would have been that. Or if you and Serena had gotten married, that would have been fine too. But you're a bit complicated now, Cole. Where am I supposed to put my old face? Harris and he have my pride. Even though you're wealthy now, if word gets out, it's a slap in my face. It would look like I sold my granddaughter to a rich man in exchange for wealth. A hint of displeasure crept onto the old man's face, but he wasn't angry. His gaze just grew sharper. Cole felt a little embarrassed and could only hang his head. The old man huffed. You're a clever little devil. Good at scheming. You dragged Spencer into this. You even managed to hide it from us for a while. Do you have any idea, for that $1 billion, his father almost beat him to death? Grandpa, he's almost earned it all back, hasn't he? Cole said with a sheepish grin. In truth, he had already earned it back. It just wasn't time for dividends yet. Is this about money? The nerve you have, $1 billion, borrowing from here and there. If it weren't for good connections and tight lips, it would have been a huge problem, the old man glared. I was just thinking, since he's Serena's cousin, of course I should take care of him. It was a sure thing. Cole spouted nonsense. Nonsense. You just wanted to pull him onto your ship, the old man said, seeing right through him. Cole looked sheepish. That was exactly his plan. He knew he couldn't fool an old master like this. But the ship had already sailed. Could he get off? No. 15% of beat drop and 20% of slice video was not a small amount of money. It provided a massive, stable fund for cultivating the next generation of the He family. He knew the old man would soon make his demands. He hoped they wouldn't be too difficult. If he could do it, he would do it for Serena. After a period of silence between them, the old man finally picked up his teacup and took a sip. He cleared his throat and said gravely, I have 3 things to tell you, and you must do all 3. Go ahead, Grandpa, Cole nodded. First, you must control the direction of your company. It must not become a man-eating monster that goes against the future of development. Don't think no one is watching those wildly growing, capital-driven enterprises. And you must not do anything that violates public order and morals. If you do, I won't be polite. Serena's feelings won't matter, and Spencer won't even be able to save himself. You must remember this. Keep it firmly in your mind. It's better to earn less than to be greedy. You already have more money than you can spend. The old man's eyes widened, shining with a sharp light, like a waking tiger. Yes, I understand. I will absolutely do it, Cole nodded repeatedly. The He family was still sitting high and stable in his past life, so they had obviously chosen the right path. There was no harm in listening to this advice. Second, Serena's uncle will be back later. He has something to discuss with you. You need to cooperate with him. Cole nodded again. The only thing he could cooperate on was likely some kind of publicity. Third, your Aunt Helen and your Uncle David absolutely cannot get a divorce. This is a hard and fast condition. If they divorce, you and Serena can just forget about it. I'll risk everything to break you two up. My daughter getting divorced. If that gets out, I'll have to find a hole to crawl into. As for how to solve it, that's your problem. You created this mess. You fix it. I only want results. Huh. Cole was stunned for a moment, then immediately nodded in agreement. Oh, okay, Grandpa, I understand. He had to agree. He had no idea the old dragon lady and Uncle David's relationship had deteriorated to this point. Judging by the old man's tone, he wasn't joking. He didn't want any more obstacles between him and Serena. What was the big deal? The old dragon lady was probably just waiting for her husband to come and appease her. Women were all like that. His future father-in-law must be angry about something. Good. You go upstairs and have a talk with your Aunt Helen. Be nice. She is Serena's mother, after all, and will be your mother in the future, the old man said, gesturing upstairs with his chin. Oh, okay. Cole agreed. He felt a little awkward, but it was the truth. It wasn't realistic for Serena and her mother to become enemies. Serena would surely feel terrible. If the old dragon lady stopped causing trouble, he could endure a little discomfort. He stood up, went inside, and walked upstairs. Just as he was wondering which room it was, he saw the old dragon lady sitting in the second-floor living room, looking like she was engrossed in a TV show. "Hello, Aunt Helen. Long time no see," Cole said with a cheerful greeting. Helen Shin acted as if she hadn't seen him. Cole walked over and sat on the sofa next to her. He smiled slightly. "Aunt Helen, you don't want to be separated from Uncle David, do you?" Helen kept a cold face and didn't say a word. "Aunt Helen, you don't want Serena and Uncle David to ignore you in the future, do you?" Helen's brow twitched, but she remained silent, as if she hadn't heard a thing. "Aunt Helen, you really had a good eye back then. Uncle David is in the prime of his life. He's handsome, a real silver fox. If he were single, TSK. As his future son-in-law, I could give my future father-in-law 10 or 20 million, a luxury car, a fancy house. TSK. Then I could run an ad for him on Headline today. Cole Chin's uncle, single, rich, handsome, and the third son of the Shun family." "Aunt Helen, how many women do you think would be interested in that?" Helen finally couldn't hold her expression. Her eyes darted around frantically. After a moment, she said coldly, "Say what you want to say, and then get out." "I've said it all, Aunt Helen. I'm leaving now." Cole stood up and slowly walked toward the stairs, muttering to himself, "When I get back, I'm going to suggest Uncle David resign. I'll support him. Let him have a second spring. TSK. Poor Uncle David. He must long for that kind of freedom, right?" Cole shook his head and was about to go downstairs. He heard the old dragon lady shout, "Come back." Cole ignored her and continued down. "Get back here, you hear me." Helen twisted her neck, staring at Cole's back, but she only saw him still shaking his head, ignoring her, already halfway down the stairs. "Cole, you come up here." Helen immediately changed her tone. Aunt Helen, were you calling me?" Cole's head popped up from the stairwell landing, a look of surprise on his face. It made Helen's blood boil, but she suppressed her temper and nodded. "Yes, come sit down. I have something to tell you." "Oh, okay." Cole jogged back to the living room, a look of sincere reverence on his face, the very picture of a good son-in-law. A complete transformation from a moment ago. "Aunt Helen, please speak. As long as it's something I can do, I won't refuse." Helen nearly died from anger. She swallowed hard to force down her fury. She managed a calm expression. "Cole, your Uncle David can't resign. The application process is very complicated. He's getting older. There's no need to go through all that trouble. He may look handsome, but he doesn't hold up to close inspection. And other women are only after his money. None of them are sincere. That would hurt him." Cole interrupted her. "Aunt Helen, don't worry. With me here, which woman would dare to harm him? I heard from Grandpa that you want a divorce. Go ahead, it's fine. You're Serena's mother, so I'll definitely be filial to you in the future. You and Uncle David can go your separate ways, and I'll take care of your living expenses." "Are you pretending you don't understand?" Helen was furious. "I understand, but I'm not listening. I'm leaving," Cole said, standing up again and heading for the stairs. Helen grew even angrier, her chest heaving. She said defiantly, "Fine, I'll find someone too." Cole waved his hand. "Aunt Helen, I wish you happiness." "You." Helen stood up, pointing at Cole's retreating back. Her expression shifted several times before she finally shouted in frustration, "Cole, come back." Aunt Helen, you're calling me again?" Cole's head reappeared from the landing, a puzzled look on his face. He strolled back to the sofa. Before the old dragon lady could speak, he said, "Aunt Helen, I'm not kidding. I will really do this. I can't let my future father-in-law be mistreated. What do you want?" Helen exhaled and asked, "If you don't want that to happen, then give Uncle David a call. Be nice. He is Serena's father, after all. To be honest with you, Uncle David came to Eastwood University to see Serena the other day. There was this associate professor, in her 30s, very beautiful and elegant. She kept talking to Uncle David, and her smile was so brilliant. Especially when I called him Uncle David. This professor seemed even happier. I hear she's single. They'd be a perfect match." Helen's face fell. "Cole, are you telling the truth or not? Are you just trying to trick me? Believe it or not, it's up to you. Eastwood has plenty of associate professors. You could go see for yourself, or ask your friends," Cole said with a shrug. Serena had inherited David Shun's features. There was no doubt he was a handsome man. Helen's face turned white, then green, and a flash of anxiety crossed her eyes. She became restless. After a long pause, she said, "Fine, Cole. I'll have your Uncle David come pick me up. Couples fight all the time. You don't need to worry about it." Perhaps still worried, she added that, "Cole, when did your Uncle David go to Eastwood? Has he been there in the last few days?" "He has. He's come 3 times in the last 2 weeks. I sent a driver to pick him up, Cole lied without blinking. It sounded completely real. Helen's face changed dramatically. She stood up and anxiously started dialing her phone. Cole, you go downstairs and talk to your grandfather for a bit. Okay, Aunt Helen. Cole obediently got up and slowly walked toward the stairs. The phone rang several times without an answer, and Helen became frantic, losing her composure. She hung up and dialed again. It connected. Helen's expression changed in an instant. The anxiety vanished, replaced by a pouting, coquettish look. Honey, can you come pick me up? I miss you so much. Her syrupy voice made Cole's skin crawl. He practically ran down the stairs. Hearing Serena coo was a pleasure, but hearing the old dragon lady do, it was like having ants crawling all over him. Flee. It was terrifying. Cole had dinner at the He family home, but Serena's two uncles didn't return until very late. He had to wait. It was 10:30 when Serena's eldest uncle finally came back. Cole followed him into the study, and they talked late into the night. Back at the hotel, Yvonne, dressed in a silk slip and thigh-high black stockings, tossed and turned in bed. She couldn't sleep, couldn't sit still. Cole still wasn't back. If she hadn't reported his whereabouts in the group chat and learned he was at Serena's grandfather's house, she would have called to rush him back. Ding, 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 ding. A notification popped up from Messenger. It was Cole. Cole, I have a few more things to discuss. I'm sleeping over here. Don't worry, it's safe. Yvonne deflated. Dejected and annoyed, she ripped off the black stockings and threw them aside. You gotta be kidding me, Cole-chun. Cole returned to the hotel around 7 in the morning. The room was empty. The bathtub showed signs of use. Vice President Wong had probably taken a bath and then gone back to her own room to sleep. Cole hadn't slept well at Harrison He's house. The bed was soft, but his mind had been too full. There was no time to catch up on sleep now. He did a quick workout, took a shower, and went to the hotel restaurant for breakfast, sending Yvonne a message to let her know where he was. The restaurant served a Southern-style brunch. Cole ordered a few small plates and a pot of tea. Just as he was about to eat, Serena called. Baby, Cole, you must have been through a lot. Thank you so much. Serena's voice was filled with concern and delight. Cole smiled. It was nothing, baby. Don't worry, Uncle David will definitely go pick her up. My mom really does love my dad. She just acts like a little kid sometimes. Cole chuckled himself. Wasn't that the truth? The old dragon lady actually knew how to act cute. He wondered if Serena inherited that. He said it's fine. Aunt Helen has surely thought things through. Cole, hurry back as soon as you're done with your work. I miss you so much. You've only been gone a day, and I can't stand it. Cole grinned wickedly. Does that mean I get to see my little black-stockinged kitten when I get back? You're terrible. Serena's voice became a whisper. Then, as if exhaling, she added, and will you do bad things to your little black-stockinged kitten? Cole said deliberately, not if she's a good girl. And what if she's not a good girl? Then I'll have to spank her round little bottom. Be gentle, you were so rough last time your poor little kitten suffered so much. A shiver of desire ran through Cole. He glanced around, saw no one was paying attention, and whispered, what does the little kitten say? He heard the rustle of her covering the phone, and then Serena's soft, sweet meow. The sound sent a jolt straight to his core. Finish work and get back. Immediately, Amy Huang's voice sounded beside him. Good morning, Mr. Chun. The two bodyguards had also arrived and greeted him. Morning, everyone. Sit down, order whatever you like, Cole said with a smile. Serena, ever thoughtful, said through the phone. Cole, you get to work, remember to think of me. Okay, baby. After hanging up, Cole asked Amy curiously, where's Ms. Wong? She'll be down later. She's still doing her hair, Amy said, a strange look in her eyes. It was so weird. Ms. Wong had suddenly come back to their room at midnight last night, looking a bit angry. Why? Was there disharmony? Was Mr. Chen not performing well? She only dared to think such thoughts. A short while later, Yvonne walked over. She didn't look well, seeming a bit listless, but she still managed a bright greeting. Morning, Mr. Chun. Morning, Ms. Wong. It was business hours, and they were in front of an employee, so Cole didn't use her first name. He continued, you all won't be able to get into the conference hall. Wait in the nearby lounge area. If I have lunch with someone, I'll bring you along. Yvonne and Amy nodded. Understood, Mr. Chun. Okay, Mr. Chun. After a quick breakfast, Cole headed to the FCC building. The meeting started at 10, so he had plenty of time. At this point, the Federal Communications Commission didn't have its own grand building yet. That wouldn't be completed until late 2014. For now, its offices were in a large complex near the city center. Parking was far away, requiring a long walk. It was Cole's first time here. There were many security checkpoints, and the security was tight. He didn't know if it was always like this or just for today. After passing through 3 checkpoints, Yvonne and the others were stopped. Accompanying personnel were not allowed to proceed. They could only wait outside in the adjacent waiting lounge. Cole walked quickly. Along the way, he encountered many familiar old titans of the industry. Mr. Ma, he waved at Jack Ma of Alibaba. Ma was walking with an older man Cole didn't recognize. Mr. Chun. Jack Ma smiled, his expression unreadable, a mix of envy and perhaps lament. Mr. Ma, I'll go on ahead, Cole said politely. It wouldn't be right to just walk past. This was the trouble with networking. You couldn't just do as you pleased. Of course, Ma nodded with a smile. Further ahead, Cole saw the CEOs of ConnectSphere and a major cybersecurity firm. He greeted them and moved on. Seeing that everyone else had their own groups, he didn't feel the need to force his way in. A 20-year-old walking through a crowd of old titans was conspicuous enough. When he reached the conference hall, he found it was much larger than he had imagined. A meeting room of several thousand square feet. A wide, circular conference table. The nameplates were already set. A staff member, eyes filled with curiosity, guided Cole to his seat. But just as he sat down, a man in his 30s with glasses beckoned to him from the doorway. Mr. Chun, come. A senior official would like to see you. Cole immediately stood up. He remembered this man. He was the one who had called on him at the internet conference last year. The man with glasses gave him a friendly smile and led him through several turns to a small lounge. Inside were a few sofas and coffee tables. An older man in his 50s was reading a document. Seeing Cole enter, he pointed to a chair beside him. Sit. Hello, sir. Cole sat down with a humble expression. He remembered this man, too, from the Department of Commerce. The old official's face was impassive, betraying no emotion. Nothing much. The scale of this meeting was changed at the last minute. A very important leader will be in attendance. You reign in your personality. You can't be beating your chest and making grand promises like last time. Understood, sir. I get it, Cole nodded. Have you prepared your speech? Yes, I have. Good. Although it's a seminar, it's very formal, very important. Remember, do not make promises lightly. If you do, you will be held to them. Okay, I will keep that in mind. Of course, you're young. You don't need to hide your natural energy. You'll have to find the right balance. Okay. Also, in the business world, keep a proper distance from your peers. They are cunning old foxes. Don't fall for their tricks easily. Understand. Cole responded respectfully to everything. This was practically a private coaching session. He had to be grateful for this kindness. All right, let's sink in. You can go now. The old official waved his hand. Thank you, sir. Cole stood up and bowed. Back in the conference room, people were gradually taking their seats. The 3 major telecom operators, various internet companies. Almost all of them were over 45. A 20-year-old sandwiched in the middle. It looked strange no matter how you sliced it. Some of these old titans knew Cole, some didn't. Many glances were thrown his way. Cole sat calmly, returning each one with a smile and a nod. He could hear some of them whispering, talking about him. Soon, the leaders entered, including the one from the Department of Commerce. Then, a few people entered, surrounding a senior official. The entire room stood up, erupting in enthusiastic applause. A thrill of excitement shot through Cole. The stakes were indeed high. The meeting was a single, continuous session. After the senior officials' opening remarks, the various business leaders began to present their views. Cole spoke as well. He stuck to his prepared speech, playing it safe and by the book. He noticed the senior official's gaze on him, a constant, smiling focus that made him a little nervous. From 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, the entire meeting was about the next 10 years of internet development. And the rules. The rules weren't stated explicitly, but Cole could read between the lines. The message was clear. Follow the government's lead. Don't take shortcuts. Don't create monopolies. Otherwise, they had 1,000 ways to take you down. Cole understood this deeply. In his past life, when Taobao became too dominant, Pinduoduo had emerged. Many people thought Pinduoduo belonged to its founder, Colin Huang. No, it belonged to the state. Otherwise, where would such extravagant subsidies and refund policies come from? No private capital could sustain such massive cash reserves. Only a few state-owned funds could. Pinduoduo's quality might be slightly lower, but it was more than enough to meet the needs of the vast majority of ordinary people. If it broke, you just threw it away. It only cost a few bucks and shipping was free. It dealt a fatal blow to Taobao and other e-commerce platforms in an instant. The entire room of internet and state-owned enterprise titans sat ramrod straight, daring not to breathe too loudly, including Cole, who felt like a well-behaved elementary school student. Media crews, allowed into the room, took turns getting close-up shots. These would be posted on the official government website. The meeting concluded. The leaders left first. But Cole noticed the atmosphere seemed to have shifted. The internet titans were suddenly warmer towards him. They seemed to be chatting casually in small groups. But whenever Cole was free for a moment, someone would inevitably slip in to shake his hand and make conversation. Mr. Chun, so young and so accomplished. We are truly no match for you, said the head of Sohu, his eyes bright, a faint smile on his face. On closer inspection, it seemed he wasn't smiling at all, but at a glance he was. Cole wore a look of humble embarrassment. I'm just a toddler learning to walk, Mr. Zhang. You're in your prime. I've always considered you my idol. I don't dare to accept such praise. After fending off Zhang from Sohu, Tencent's EO came over for a light handshake, a mysterious glint hidden behind his glasses. Gan Luo became Prime Minister at 12. Mr. Chun is already a king of the business world at 20. A true young hero. Mr. Ma, you're teasing me. My little operation is just a tiny shrimp in your eyes. I can't be called a hero. You are the direction and benchmark for our entire industry, Cole said, repeatedly deflecting, absolutely refusing to accept the title of king. The CEO of 360 chimed in with a grin. Mr. Chun, you must come visit us at 360 when you have time. I will. It's always been my wish to visit and learn from 360. Mr. Chun, when are you free to come over to my house? My youngest daughter is your age, and she's bored to death at home for the summer. You young people have a lot to talk about. You'll surely get along. The last to speak was the general manager of a major mobile carrier. When he said this, the other titans hadn't left yet. They all heard it, and every one of them perked up their ears. Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Liu. If I have time, I will certainly come and impose, Cole said, completely avoiding the topic of young people. He couldn't touch that. Who knew what kind of rumors would start? Good. Let's stay in touch. I just love enterprising young people like you, the general manager said, patting Cole's arm. Cole nodded quickly, bowing slightly. These old titans must have sensed something to be flattering him like this. Maybe it was genuine praise, or maybe they were setting him up for a fall. All Cole could do was be low-key. He made his expression as humbled and overwhelmed as possible. Deception and intrigue, a game of smoke and mirrors. He responded with modesty to every single one of them. Their minds are like labyrinths, with 9 twists and 18 turns. The things they said could be true, or they could be false. Truth and falsehood were determined solely by their needs. If you were strong, it was true. If you weren't, it was false. In an instant, they could transform into devouring tigers. The titans filed out one by one. Every single one of them was starving, but their expressions remained unchanged. Cole was famished, but unfortunately, an executive from a rival telecom was walking with him. He had no choice but to force himself to keep up the conversation as they slowly made their way out. When he reached the lounge where Yvonne was waiting, she and the others were already standing by the curb. Mr. Chun, you must be exhausted, Yvonne said, stepping forward with concern to take his bag. Her earlier resentment was gone. Seeing the man's fatigue, her heart immediately went out to him. Amy had wanted to take the bag, but she was a step too slow. I'm okay, just starving. Let's go back to the hotel first, Cole said, patting Yvonne's hand. Okay, there were far fewer security checkpoints on the way out. Back at the hotel, he told Amy and the bodyguards to go rest. Yvonne ordered food for Cole and had the room service deliver it to the suite. While Cole was eating, she secretly snapped a picture and sent it to the family committee group chat. Then she went into the office area to process the documents from the meeting, listing out all the keywords. They would need to be studied and turned into slogans for the company walls. She had to understand them inside and out herself. If a government official came for inspection, not only would they see the slogans, but she had to be able to answer any questions. When she finished, she went into the bedroom and saw no one by the coffee table. The curtain on the glass shower door was drawn. The man had gone to take a shower. He was probably planning to take a nap. Yvonne tiptoed to the bathroom door and gave a gentle push. It wasn't locked. It opened a crack. Her heart leaped. Should she go in? She looked down at her formal attire. Take it off? Or not? She hesitated, torn. Maybe she should go get her nightgown and take a shower herself? Just then, she heard the man's voice from inside. Yvonne, send an email to Mr. Chun. Have him immediately write up a proposal on network health and safety and promote it across all of Headline today. Send another email to Ms. Chun. Have the legal department revise the user code of conduct, interpreting the spirit of this new document. Hearing it was business, Yvonne quickly pushed her other thoughts aside. Okay, Mr. Chun. The laptop was in Amy's room. She immediately turned, grabbed her key card, and went out. In the standard room, she patiently handled the tasks. By the time she returned to the suite, Cole was already lying in bed. She walked over and called his name softly twice. He was already asleep. The hotel's white duvet only covered his navel and lower body, revealing a strong chest and a hint of abs. Yvonne quietly bent down and planted a soft peck on his pectoral muscle. A powerful, masculine scent filled her nostrils. She felt a little dizzy. She secretly lifted the duvet. Wow. Her face flushed and her heart began to race. Black silk boxers. Very form-fitting. The First Lady must have bought them. She stared for a moment, then quietly retreated. In her hand, she was still clutching her own silk nightgown and a pair of thigh-high black stockings. She kicked off her heels and walked barefoot into the bathroom. She washed herself meticulously. Then she put on a nightgown and stockings and, as quietly as possible, lay down on her side next to the man. She lay there for a while. Then she took the man's hand and placed it on her waist. Only then did she close her eyes, content. Cole woke up at 7 o'clock. The sky outside was dark. He felt a tickle on his neck and turned his head to see Yvonne's face pressed tightly against his shoulder. She was fast asleep. Her cheek was squished, making it puff out. It was kind of cute. A cute face that still held a hint of mature confidence. Even though Yvonne was a high-level executive beyond the reach of ordinary people, to Cole, she was still, at her core, a 23-year-old girl. His gaze drifted downward, and then he couldn't look away. Her curves were excellent. Cole was used to the best, and besides, he was usually so focused on work that he hadn't paid special attention to Yvonne's figure. But looking closely now, he found it was very nice indeed. It had the firm tone of a woman who had never been with a man. This whole time he had been so busy, Cole had been abstinent for days. The quality of the nightgown was good. It must have been expensive. Yvonne, who had been sleeping silently, suddenly twitched her eyelids. A blush crept up her cheeks. Her eyes flew open, and she let out a low, soul-stealing moan. Cole Chun. Then with a pounce, she grabbed his head and captured his mouth. MMPH. Yvonne, your teeth are bumping into mine. 20-odd minutes later, Cole Chun. You should have beaten me up a long time ago. The bed sheets would probably need to be paid for. Another half hour later. Are you okay? Cole asked with concern. I'm fine. I can take it. I love you so much. Cole Chun. Yvonne murmured, her cheeks as red as if she were drunk, her eyes hazy, gazing at Cole with adoration. I love you too, Yvonne. Cole didn't hold back his own feelings. She had been with him for so long, working tirelessly without complaint. She deserved to be loved well. Yvonne kept asking for kisses. She just wanted to be with this man for a little longer, and then a little longer still. When everything had settled, it was past 10 at night. Yvonne was in surprisingly good shape, but Cole still took meticulous care of her. He had Amy order some food and bring it up, then fed it to her bite by bite. I can do it myself. You eat too, Yvonne said. It was the first time she had ever enjoyed such careful attention from him, and she felt a little overwhelmed. It's fine. Don't move. Cole shook his head, insisting on feeding her himself. He would feed her a few bites, then wipe her mouth. Yvonne ate, gazing at him the whole time. After a few bites, tears started to fall. She sat up, scooted over, and rested her head on his shoulder. Cole put down the chopsticks and bowl and wrapped his arms around her waist, asking softly, What's wrong? Nothing. I'm just happy, Yvonne said, shaking her head vigorously, sending tears flying. Cole patted her back gently, holding her quietly. They embraced for a long time. Come on, finish your food, Cole said in a warm voice. Okay, but you still have to feed me. Yvonne kissed his shoulder. The meal took half an hour. After they had washed up, Yvonne leaned against the headboard, and Cole used her thighs as a pillow. They were soft and very elastic. They talked about the early days of the company. Cole, you have no idea how miserable I was on the day I came for the interview. What happened? You seemed full of energy that day. Perfectly normal. I was so anxious, terrified someone else would get the job first. I fell on my way there. My jeans were all bloody at the knee. I had to bike all the way back to my dorm to change. Then I rode back, gritting my teeth through the pain. Luckily, I made it in time. Yvonne laughed as she spoke, as if her past embarrassment had now become a fond memory. Why didn't you tell me back then? I definitely would have waited for you, Cole said, his heart aching as he rubbed her hand. I was afraid of missing the opportunity. I didn't even know what the salary was. I just thought the office is on campus, and it's a startup. Even if the pay was low, if I did well, I'd be a founding member. Who knew you'd offer such a high salary in a manager position? I was so happy I couldn't sleep all night back in my dorm. And then what? Then, Later, I fell for you. Yvonne actually became shy, covering half her face with her hand. Was it because you thought I was exceptionally handsome, dashingly heroic, and had the natural air of an entrepreneur? Cole chuckled. No, Yvonne burst out laughing. It was because I thought you were so thick-skinned. Your mental fortitude is off the charts. Huh, you like thick-skinned guys. Cole was embarrassed. His self-praise had met a heckler instead of a hype man. Vice President Wong, where has your emotional intelligence gone? Yvonne lowered her hand from her face and caressed his cheek, her eyes full of deep affection. I don't like thick-skinned guys. I just like you. Oh, I thought it was because you found me handsome, Cole said, pretending to be disappointed. You just want me to say you're handsome. Yvonne leaned down and kissed him. Yes, you are the most handsome, most charismatic man I have ever met. I'm so crazy about you I think about you day and night. I often dream about you. Are you satisfied? My dear Cole-chun. That's more like it. Cole smiled, satisfied. He then asked, you dream about me? What am I doing? Taking you to meet clients? No. Yvonne shook her head, looking a little embarrassed. Then, a meeting? Not that either. Then what am I doing? Can I not say? Yvonne's eyes pleaded. As bold as she was too embarrassed to describe her dreams. It would make her sound so lewd. No, tell me now. Cole slapped her on the hip. Yvonne covered her face, then lowered her hand. Then covered it again, then lowered it again. She started to speak several times, then stopped. Tell me, Cole urged. He was curious now. What kind of dream was so hard to talk about? It's just. Yvonne covered Cole's eyes with her hand, and only then did she stammer out. It's just. In my dream. I'm not saying it. You're not allowed to look at me. Give me the details. Cole's grin was wicked. Even though he couldn't see, he could imagine Yvonne's mortification. I'm not saying. I'm too embarrassed to say it. Yvonne leaned down and whispered softly. When I've recovered, I'll tell you one by one. Tell me one thing first. Cole's curiosity was piqued. Yvonne bit her lower lip, hesitated, then said, you have to promise not to laugh. I absolutely will not laugh, Cole nodded. You. Yvonne was so embarrassed. How could he say it like that? It was too much. She pressed her hand firmly over his eyes. As long as he couldn't see her, she wasn't embarrassed. At that moment, a fire ignited in Cole's heart. Pushing his subordinates to greater heights was his strength as a leader. Since his capable assistant had this kind of awareness, he should satisfy her aspirations as soon as possible. He couldn't let his subordinates' heart grow cold. You know, Yvonne, I'm not that kind of person. How could I do something like that? Your dream clearly shows an incomplete understanding of me. When we get back to Rockford, I'll have to give you some training. Yvonne's boldness had completely evaporated. She hung her head, rubbing her cheek against his, her face burning. Her voice trembled. I know, my dear boss. I will be sure to study hard. At the beginning of summer break, you always think, such a long vacation. But as the start of the semester approaches, you suddenly realize you have no idea where the 2 months went. The first day of break feels like it was just yesterday. For working people, the concept of summer vacation is long gone. How much work was completed in 2 months? How many paychecks were issued? That is the measure of time. There was still plenty of major news in the tech world over the summer. Youku and Tudo merged. Alibaba's Hong Kong company delisted, going completely private as it went all in on its marketing for the Singles Day shopping festival. Tech giant Lei Jun invested in YY, which was renamed JOYY, and he became its chairman. By August, YY's monthly active users had reached 80 million. The CEO of 360 launched a search engine, officially starting a war with Baidu's Robin Li. They sniped at each other online, just short of arranging a real-life brawl. Tencent's Pony Ma announced that WeChat had reached 200 million users, and his company's microblogging service was now in a full-scale war with Sina Weibo. But for now, the major tech giants were all preoccupied with their direct competitors, pushing the threat of Headline Today down their priority list. For BeatDrop, which was on a completely different track, rivals like QuickVid could only play catch-up. Other new short video apps were left far behind, some with only a few million registered users, filled with fake data and content. Their boards of directors hear that this thing makes money, so fine, let's do it. But they don't know how to do it, nor do they care. They allocate a limited amount of funding, and getting more is nearly impossible. And everyone wants to insert their own people, fighting for control. The power struggles far outweigh the product development efforts. Cole no longer managed the company's specific affairs. He only looked at results and researched market direction. At this time, the number of smartphone users in the market exceeded 450 million. BeatDrop's user count had reached over 200 million, but but it couldn't advance aggressively yet. It had to focus on culture and information, demonstrating its content advantage as a new media platform. And it had to be fun. Personalized recommendations were already standard practice, nothing special anymore. Oracle QA, his Q&A platform, was developing steadily, prioritizing the question and answer function, staying out of the search war between 360 and Tentagrade. Glow Up, his photo editing app, had also reached over 30 million users, with both PC and mobile versions for user convenience. Cole was in close contact with major phone manufacturers, trying to get BeatDrop included as a pre-installed app. He had already secured strategic cooperation opportunities with Xiaomi and Huawei. And today was the opening convocation. Fresh-faced freshmen flooded the campus. Cole, the slacker, Chun had also entered his junior year, and he had once again been invited to speak at the ceremony. When it came to Eastwood University, Cole never refused a request. Renovating the exterior of academic buildings, remodeling dorms, organizing large-scale events. He would agree without a second thought as soon as the call came in. Although he hadn't donated any major buildings or stadiums, his relationship with Eastwood remained rock solid. Just like last year, the university leaders sat on stage. Below, a sea of bright, young faces. Cole stood at the podium, holding his speech, a gentle smile on his face. Looking at all of you, it's like seeing my former self. Back then, I was also sitting down there thinking, it's so hot, can we speed this up? The freshmen roared with laughter. I know most of you don't know me. Who is this guy? Let me introduce myself. My name is Cole Chun. I'm a junior in the School of Economics, majoring in finance. I'm your upperclassman. I am also the CEO of Headline Today and the current chairman of BeatDrop. You might not know me, and that's normal because your parents probably didn't let you have a phone. The crowd erupted in laughter again. This upperclassman wasn't just handsome, he was pretty funny. The vast majority of freshmen didn't know about BeatDrop. They had just bought their phones before coming to college and were still getting used to them, learning everything from scratch. Students from less well-off families might have bought a Nokia, just like Cole in his previous life, even though his parents were a teacher and an accountant. But some students came from wealthy families. They had bought iPhones right after their college entrance exams and were very familiar with BeatDrop. Holy crap, he's the owner of BeatDrop. Is he famous? A roommate whispered. Famous doesn't even cover it. He's worth billions. And the rumor is he has 4 goddess VPs protecting him. For real. Of course it's real. How could I make that up? Combined, their companies are really worth billions. I meant the 4 goddess VPs. How goddess-like are they? They're so beautiful that. Well, I've never seen them, but we should be able to see them around campus. On stage, Cole continued with a smile. Additionally, I'm also the owner of the Tea Alchemist Mill Tea Shop just outside campus. Is that a little more familiar? Yes, I know that one. It's a little expensive. Can you give us a discount, senior? Some of the more outgoing freshmen immediately shouted. The Tea Alchemist has various promotions from time to time, so it's actually quite affordable. Cole smiled, then changed the subject, getting to the main point. When I started this tea shop, I had just arrived on campus, full of curiosity and hope for everything. I encountered some difficulties along the way, but being at Eastwood was like having a protective halo. Thanks to the support and care of the leadership at Eastwood's Academic Affairs Office for Student Entrepreneurship, my tea shop opened smoothly. After that, I founded Headline Today, and that's where I have to mention the support from Professor Diaz at the Venture Lab and the leaders of the student government. Cole cherry-picked a few stories from his early entrepreneurial days, all closely related to Eastwood. He was promoting himself while simultaneously praising the university, expressing his gratitude. The leaders on stage were beaming. Professor Diaz was smiling, so wide she couldn't contain it. She recalled the pressure she had been under when she approved Cole's office space. It was a brilliant decision she could be proud of for the rest of her life. Cole shared a few more amusing stories about landing business deals, and the freshmen listened with rapt attention. His planned 10-minute speech stretched to 15. He bowed to thunderous applause and left the stage. A student government leader took the podium. Cole Chun has always been the pride of Eastwood University and a role model for all our students. He is not only an excellent student, but also broad-minded and always willing to help others. Cole's expression remained calm, but his toes were about to curl through the soles of his shoes. You would have skipped that first part, sir. The university leaders sitting behind him were all trying to suppress their laughter. Cole was great in every way, except for one thing, his studies. He probably didn't even know the names of his sophomore year professors. The university had discussed this point. Cole Chun is an excellent student. He's a finance major, and his entrepreneurial success has already proven that. Practice is the source of true knowledge, and learning through practice is still learning. After the ceremony, the freshmen who didn't know about Beat Drop immediately asked around or looked it up online. They had no idea, but a single search left them stunned. A multi-billionaire was right here among them, and he was their upperclassman. That night, countless fresh-faced freshman girls developed massive crushes. The next day, Cole welcomed a group of visitors to the company. They were people of some renown in the tech world. The once famous Omnicorp. The leader was their CEO, Mr. Jennings. He didn't bring many people, an assistant, another C-suite executive, and a manager from the product integration department. It was Cole's first time meeting Jennings. The man was a legend in his own right, a community college graduate who had built a massive company. He was handsome and carried himself with an air of sophistication. He had tried to create a sprawling business empire by integrating television, sports, finance, and automobiles. His investments came from all corners of the business world, including tech giants like ConnectSphere, major retailers like JD.Com and Suning, conglomerates like Wanda, and venture capital firms like Sequoia. He even had backing from the entertainment industry. But in the end, he had overextended himself, his promises too grand. The follow-through couldn't keep up. He was raising money just for the sake of raising money. In the end, he cashed out and fled the country. Omnicorp stock was halted in 2016. Jennings had already transferred his assets out in 2015. It was clear he knew what was coming. Perhaps there were others behind him who knew where the real money ended up. Omnicorp still existed in Cole's past life, with only 400 employees remaining. Jennings was still the largest shareholder, but he hadn't abandoned the company. Many of those 400 employees were veterans of 5 years or more, living comfortably off the company's old content licenses. Their salaries were never cut, their benefits never stopped. They worked whenever they wanted. No one supervised them. They could lounge around if they felt like it, or just show up, play video games if they wanted. Their work life was the epitome of relaxation. The 9-to-9, 6 days a week grind didn't exist there. I never would have imagined that the vast headline today, Empire, came from an office of less than 10,000 square feet, Jennings said, looking around as he walked, a sense of wonder in his voice. Mr. She not only has extraordinary talent, but also a truly world-class internet mindset. You're too kind, Mr. Jennings. It's all thanks to the hard work of my employees that headline today is where it is today, Cole replied modestly, escorting him. He was waiting for Jennings to state his purpose. People didn't just show up for no reason. Jennings must want something from him. He hadn't mentioned it when he scheduled the visit, but Cole could guess. It was about raising investment. As the cash king, Cole was surely a good target. He didn't know if Jennings was a good or bad person, and he wouldn't comment. Ultimately, these were just battles between capitalists, which didn't affect ordinary people. Jennings had acquired a lot of legitimate copyrights in the early days, including the exclusive online rights to a massive hit TV show, which he later licensed out to other platforms. He accompanied Jennings on a leisurely tour, looking at headline today, Slice Video downstairs, and the Beat Drop team. They even visited Vice President Wong's office. It was the largest office in the company. Jennings had assumed it was Cole's. It was only when they went inside that he realized it wasn't. The decor was distinctly feminine. Mr. Jennings, this is my office, said Yvonne, who was walking beside Cole. Huh, I can see that. Vice President Wong is clearly highly valued by Mr. Chun. Jennings nodded, smacking his lips slightly as if he'd had some sort of revelation. After the tour, Cole led Jennings into his own office. They sat on the sofas. Amy Huang brought in 2 cups of tea and gently closed the door behind her. I've long heard that Mr. Chun has a goddess for a right-hand woman. Seeing her today, I can say she lives up to the name, Jennings said with a laugh, but his feelings were complicated. He was already 39, but the young man before him was just 20. It completely upended his understanding of the world. Were people of his generation when they were 20, still struggling in a state of confusion? Was there someone else pulling the strings behind the scenes? Could a 20-year-old have this kind of thinking and courage? Could he be so calm and composed, like an old fox? This was his question, and the question of everyone else. His business had no direct conflict of interest with Headline today. He had come today wanting to both secure an investment and make a friend. I'll accept that compliment on her behalf. She's indeed my right-hand woman, Cole said with a smile. Does Mr. Chen have any plans to expand overseas? Jennings asked suddenly. Not at the moment. I'm not familiar with overseas markets, so I plan to solidify our foundation here in the country before considering anything else, Cole said truthfully. In his past life, the founder of TikTok had begun planning his international expansion in 2014, which was related to his connections. One of his shareholders was named Zhou, and the future CEO of TikTok was also named Zhou and was an overseas Chinese. The founder had also acquired two overseas short video media companies, both founded by Chinese entrepreneurs. This was the foundation of TikTok. But for now, those two overseas companies hadn't run into any financial trouble yet. Cole could only bide his time. What does Mr. Chen think of Omnicorp? Jennings asked again. It's at its zenith. I can foresee the emergence of an industrial empire. Mr. Jennings, your ambition is truly grand, Cole said with a sincere, flattering tone. It was true. In 2016, Jennings's net worth was $42 billion. Unfortunately, it collapsed not long after. He had drawn a huge map, but the foundation was weak. Perhaps it was all just for fundraising. Or perhaps he really did have a grand vision of building a business empire. Regardless, the outcome was set. The community college tycoon would flee to America in defeat. Jennings smiled. Omnicorp is currently developing its electric vehicle division. The concept is electric, intelligent, internet-connected, and social. We want to create the most advanced supercar on Earth, building a vertically integrated, intelligent internet electric vehicle ecosystem. It had to be said, Jennings's ideas in this area were quite ahead of their time, and incredibly expensive. This was only 2012. It was clear that Jennings had genuinely researched this field back then. If this were 8 or 9 years later, Cole would have invested and supported him without hesitation. Or he would have pulled Jennings aside to start their own venture, cutting out all the other interference. They could have a chairman who personally delivered the cars and opened the doors for customers. But right now, it was absolutely out of the question. Intelligent electric vehicles? Cole feigned surprise, as if he had just heard of it. Yes, intelligent is easy to understand. The logic behind headline today's operations is, in fact, a form of intelligence, Jennings said seriously. Our country has no shortage of electricity. The range can't compare to gasoline cars, but it's cheaper than gas and perfectly sufficient for urban travel. Has Mr. Chen ever thought about autonomous driving? No driver needed. People can sit in the back, even lie down, and the car will automatically take you where you want to go. Is that possible? Mr. Jennings, as you know, I'm not an electrical engineering or computer science major. I really don't understand this, Cole said, his eyes wide, as if he had heard something incredible. Theoretically, it's possible. It still needs development time, but it can definitely be achieved in the end. Jennings's eyes gleamed, and he gestured with his hands. Mr. Chen, just imagine we wouldn't even need to open the car door ourselves. We could just say, open, sesame, and the door would open. Say, play music, and you'd hear a song. Say where you want to go, and the car automatically opens the map and navigates. We wouldn't have to do anything. We could be busy with our own things in the car. Even Cole was excited listening to this. If that were the case, he and his big sister could discuss important matters in the car. It had been days since he and Jasmine had been intimate. A few nights ago, she had been stretching in the living room of their Golden Bay apartment, but she wouldn't let him get close. That perfect figure, that radiant, beautiful face, the angelic flexibility. The sight of Jasmine stretching on her yoga mat made Cole's heart race and his palms itch, but she wouldn't let him touch her. He couldn't even get close. She just maintained that proud, teasing look as she went through her routine. Cole figured she was still a little miffed about his encounter with Yvonne, so he dutifully played the part of the attentive servant, waiting on her as she went to sleep and got ready in the morning. Mr. Chen, plenty of room for the imagination, isn't there? Mr. Jennings, the CEO of Omnicorp, noticed Cole's mind had drifted, and a knowing smile spread across his face. I was the same way when I first had the idea. In an instant, I saw the distant future. My apologies, Mr. Jennings. I was indeed thinking of some rather wonderful things, Cole said, a slightly embarrassed expression on his face. He quickly recovered. It's a truly grand vision. It would require immense computing power and network support. The R&D investment alone would be astronomical. But if it succeeds, it would truly shock the nation. No, it would shock the world. Cole deliberately brought up the most difficult hurdles. Right now, even battery technology hadn't seen a major breakthrough. Phone batteries were still the size of bricks. Mr. Jennings's eyes lit up as if he'd found a kindred spirit. Mr. Chen, you've hit the nail on the head. Omnicorp is already preparing to build a dedicated R&D facility. We're also collaborating with a renowned AI research institute overseas, and we have a team dedicated to battery technology. We are determined to do something that will shake the globe. Mr. Jennings, your courage is inspiring. I'm thoroughly impressed, Cole said, giving a small, theatrical bow he'd seen in a movie. Mr. Chen, Jennings said, his expression turning serious. Omnicorp is striving in this direction, but we're still lacking in many areas. This market is enormous. We predict that the future belongs to electric vehicles. Gas-powered cars will gradually become a secondary choice, reserved for special uses, and eventually, they'll be phased out entirely. A cake this big, Omnicorp can't possibly eat it all by itself. That's why we need more allies to share a slice. As he finished, Mr. Jennings's gaze grew intense. He concealed the deep anticipation in his eyes, calmly observing Cole's reaction. Cole's fingers tapped lightly on the arm of the sofa, his eyes filled with deep thought. He appeared to be weighing his decision. And he was. Building cars was a massive trend in the coming years. Several major corporations had dived in headfirst. Xiaomi had even built a brand from scratch, with marketing that was universally praised. It wasn't impossible for him to get into it later, but he had no intention of doing so. If he could manage BeatDrop well, expand its related industries, and succeed overseas, he'd have more money than he could spend in 100 lifetimes, let alone 10. BeatDrop's most important future direction was integration with society, promoting and assisting the economic networking of various regions. That was the path he was committed to, the one that was absolutely safe and secure. In his past life, TikTok had been valued in the trillions without ever building a single car. If he spread himself too thin, it would be a sign of arrogance, of having ambition that outstripped his ability. He was better off playing it safe, tilling his own land. He spoke in a steady voice. Mr. Jennings, I understand what you're saying. I'm incredibly flattered that you would personally bring such a wonderful opportunity to my door. I can genuinely feel your sincerity. Hearing this, Mr. Jennings's expression shifted slightly, but he maintained his calm smile. Cole continued earnestly, it's just that. This is something I need to consider very carefully. As you know, Rhythm Group has 2 other major shareholders. I have to get their opinions. He smoothly passed the buck to Vanessa and Spencer. His counterpart couldn't possibly be unaware of other shareholders, though he might not know their identities. If he knew people at a certain level, he might find out who they were, but he definitely wouldn't dare say it out loud. No one was stupid enough to make enemies of powerful people for no reason. At this, Mr. Jennings's expression softened with understanding, and he actually relaxed. To him, this was the correct answer. Agreeing on the spot would be unrealistic, not the move of a savvy entrepreneur. An outright refusal would show a lack of emotional intelligence, making it impossible for him to have built Headline today to its current scale. It seems the 2 people behind him are the true masters of Headline today, Mr. Jennings thought. It was the only thing that made sense. Otherwise, how could a 20-year-old with no capital backing build such an empire without being swallowed whole? It was simply improbable. He himself wouldn't have been able to hold onto the TV and movie rights he'd acquired, let alone build a television empire, without his own backers. He laughed heartily. You're a straightforward man, Mr. Chun. There's no rush on this. Today, I simply wanted to come and make a friend. Even if we don't end up collaborating, I'd be honored to have a friendship that transcends our age gap. He had intentionally avoided mentioning investment figures, wanting only to test Cole's attitude. As long as it wasn't a direct rejection, everything was still on the table. They could talk again later. You flatter me, Mr. Jennings. In the business world, you're a legend to us young people. Cole replied with practiced humility. To be your friend is a great honor. I couldn't ask for more. Excellent. Then it's settled. We're friends. Mr. Jennings said, extending his hand with a smile. As long as you don't mind the company. Huh. The 2 of them looked at each other and laughed, as if they had already become the closest of confidants. After chatting for a while longer, Mr. Jennings took his leave. Cole personally saw him downstairs to his car, waving goodbye. From a certain perspective, Mr. Jennings coming in person was a sign of great respect. Cole naturally had to reciprocate. In the world of business, it was all about mutual respect. Even if a deal falls through, the relationship can remain. Back in the office, Yvonne followed him in. Mr. Chun, was he here to ask for an investment? How could you tell? Cole asked with a smile. What else would he be here for? We're not even in the same business. Yvonne shrugged, walking over in her black high heels, her hips swaying. She leaned against the side of his desk, hesitated for a moment, then said, I think you need to be careful. I just did a quick search online. He seems to be spreading his resources way too thin. If his funding chain breaks, it'll be a complete catastrophe. So, Ms. Wong, do you think I agreed or not? Cole watched her with a half smile. Yvonne lightly bit her lower lip. The soft, red flesh was squeezed by her white teeth before springing back, her lips parting in a strangely alluring way. After her return to Rockford, and after several of their sessions, her face was now radiant, her skin even more delicate. When she was alone with Cole, all of her sharp, executive demeanor melted away, replaced by a potent femininity. It's hard to say, she murmured. You probably wouldn't agree, but he must have painted a grand picture of the future. A man who's gotten this far must be incredibly persuasive. So, I'm not sure. You dare to question me? Cole feigned anger. No, Mr. Chun. I'm just speaking my mind. A guy like that is probably full of it, Yvonne said, pouting. Oh, so you're questioning me from the bottom of your heart. Cole deliberately dug for more evidence of her crime. No, Mr. Chun, that's not what I meant. Yvonne anxiously walked over to his chair, placing her hands on his shoulders and shaking him gently. Cole snaked a hand around the back of her neck and pulled her down sharply. The sudden, domineering motion made Yvonne let out a soft gasp. Their faces were inches apart, so close they could feel each other's breath. Yvonne's slightly curled dark hair fell onto Cole's chest. The scent of oranges on her breath mingled with the fragrance of her hair. Cole stared into his vice president's eyes. Then what did you mean? And what did you call me? Yvonne's face was pleading, her mouth slightly open as she panted. But her eyes were like pools of water, reflecting the handsome face of the man before her. She answered softly, boss. And Cole glanced at her outfit. A white blouse buttoned all the way to the collar. Below it, a long black accordion-pleated skirt that reached her calves. Paired with thin black high heels, it was an elegant and professional look. This kind of concealed temptation was all the more powerful. Yvonne looked mortified, a blush creeping up her neck. She hesitated. Finally, she surrendered. Her watery, bright eyes begged him as she whispered, Master, you question me. What should I do about that? Cole pressed his advantage, the flames inside him leaping higher. Yvonne's breathing quickened. Her eyes seemed to hold a mix of fear, excitement, and anticipation. She brought her lips to his, planting a series of light, butterfly-like kisses as she whispered, I shouldn't have doubted you. Please punish me. But you have to keep it a secret, okay? My man, my dear boss, my dear master. With that, she stood up and leaned over his desk, dutifully opening the folder she had brought with her. Faced with such a humble and diligent subordinate, Cole was so moved that he stood up. There was no choice. Some lessons had to be taught. No, Yvonne said, her pretty face full of apology, her voice soft. You can do this, but you can't do that. It would violate the safety management regulations. Huh? Really? Cole stared at his vice president in disbelief. There were safety regulations for this, too. Just like Luna said. Of course. It's for your own health, Yvonne said, like a doting wife, as she gently cleaned him up. She followed it with a kiss, then wrapped her arms around his neck, her eyes full of affection. It's hard for me, too, but we have to follow the rules. I can't let you ruin your health. As long as we stick to it, you'll always be in great shape. Really great shape. Jasmine's friend from grad school, the one studying medicine, is pretty skilled in traditional methods. We had a video conference with her to discuss it. Now be good. Deep breaths. Don't be angry. A video conference? To discuss this? Cole took a deep breath, calming the turmoil in his blood. How could he be angry when the women were just looking out for him? The fact that they were willing to play along with all his games already made him incredibly happy. He clenched his muscles, inhaled, and focused his energy, then exhaled, letting the energy settle. He was an expert at this. He'd learned it in his past life. A technique for reigning in desire and preserving one's spirit. He pulled the woman in front of him around and gave her a firm smack. Slap. Yvonne covered her behind, pouting and humming. You hit me. I picked Friday. Just you wait. After her coming of age, Vice President Wong was becoming more and more alluring. The sight of her almost made Cole lose control. He sat back down in his chair, grinning. All right, I'll be waiting. We'll see who's looking better then. Yvonne reapplied her lipstick, straightened her skirt, then leaned down to press her cheek against his mouth. She reached up and stroked his face. You tormentor. I have to get back to work. Keep today a secret, okay? Or I'll get in trouble. I want to see you do a hip-swaying dance on Friday night, Cole threatened. Nope. Yvonne huffed, turning to leave. Her figure swayed as she walked away, light on her feet. The moment she stepped out the door, her expression instantly reverted to the dignified look of Vice President Wong. She walked like the wind, briskly passing by employees and remembering to return their greetings. Inside, however, she was beaming. She felt a deep sense of peace. This was how life should be. Although calling him that was mortifying, she was willing, exceptionally willing. It wasn't that Cole didn't respect her. It was just that this was their particular flavor of intimacy. And she had a responsibility, an obligation, to intercept this particular quirk of his, lest he be taken advantage of by someone else in the future. When she returned to her office, she found an investment proposal on her desk. She picked it up and read it carefully. A few computer science juniors from Eastwood Tech had started a studio and developed a small video editing application targeted specifically at short video users. The file detailed the program's current status, optimization, formats, compression quality, and so on. It was simple to use, but the effects were also simple. There were no overly complex editing processes. The investment was rated 4 stars. The rationale was that it could be a value add for Beat Drop. Currently, the mainstream video editing tools were Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro. Many short videos were edited on a computer before being transferred to a phone, which was a hassle. The company's R&D center wasn't focused on editing software, but rather on the built-in special effects within Beat Drop itself. Yvonne called her assistant in. Contact them. If they're willing to sell, let's talk. Yes, Ms. Wong. Also, I forwarded you some news about Mr. Chun. You should take a look. Okay, got it. Yvonne opened Messenger. The company was starting to use it more now, though they still kept QQ for its convenience in transferring files. Her assistant had sent 3 links, one from Beat Drop, one from She, and one from Twitter. A single glance was genuinely alarming. They were all about Cole, and the topic was bizarre. Yvonne forwarded the 3 links to the family committee group chat. At Eastwood Tech, Jasmine had just gotten into her car, ready to head to the office. She opened the group chat message, and her brow immediately furrowed. It was a Beat Drop post with text and a voiceover. Headline: Today, Chairman Cole Chun is worth billions, is only 20 years old, and is unmarried with no children. Do you know what this means? Smart girls already know what to do. Just have Cole Chun's baby, and with a child comes status. The future is bright. It was followed by a long introduction to Cole, complete with photos and even details about his family background. Then it started talking about how girls could make their fortunes. It had over 100,000 likes and 20,000 comments. I hereby declare my intention to secure my future with a baby. Any suggestions? 14K likes. The Athena Aesthetics and Plastic Surgery Center, a fully licensed and professional hospital. 10K likes. Dream on. He's already got his 4 guardians. Rich people are just different. We're lucky if we even see one. Everyone knows that stuff. That's not the point. You need to tell us what Mr. Chun likes. 30K likes. All sorts of comments. The posts on She were similar. The buzz on Twitter was even bigger. Jasmine typed in the group, "Everyone, what's our plan for handling this?" After sending the message, a trace of helplessness flickered in the depths of her eyes. She had anticipated this long ago. It was one of the reasons she had tacitly allowed the other 3 to exist. On her own, she could run herself ragged and still not fend off the world. Love was a beautiful thing between 2 people, that was true. But society and human nature were not things that love alone could decide. The character for love, I, contained the character for receiving, show. To love was to endure. The connection, the ching, was the most important bond between 2 people. She had the affection of family, the bond of a sibling, the passion of a lover. She had received more, so she had to endure more. Besides love, she also had her responsibilities as a sister and a family member. At the Eastwood University School of Law, under a tree outside the classroom building, Serena had just finished class. She sat on the edge of a planter, holding her books, her brow slightly furrowed. After thinking for a moment, she replied in the group chat, "It doesn't count as verbal assault, and it's not quite harassment, but since they know his family background, they definitely did some digging. If they were caught stalking and taking photos, we could sue for invasion of privacy." Every student who passed by glanced in her direction. Even the freshmen knew that this beautiful, cool-faced upperclassman was one of Headline's 4 guardians, the vice president of the legal department. And she had a powerful background. The associate dean of the law school, Professor Lin, cared for her deeply. Despite her stunning looks, no one dared to approach her. The upperclassmen who had once had ideas about her now kept their distance. Even if they weren't afraid of the associate dean, they were afraid of Cole. Times had changed. These days, Serena was always alone, without even a close roommate to keep her company. She didn't mind the solitude. She had never been very talkative. The peace and quiet was better. Serena, heading back to the dorm, her roommate, Zoe, called out from a few yards away, having just come out of the building. "You go on ahead. I'm waiting for my next class. I'm going to the office this afternoon," Serena replied with a faint smile. "Okay, I'll see you later then." A flicker of disappointment crossed Zoe's face. She and her roommate were drifting further and further apart. She didn't know if her future prospects were still secure. She was definitely full of regret, but there were no do-overs. If she had another chance, she would never have listened to Serena's mother. At Eastwood's College of Finance and Accounting, Luna had also just finished class. She was sitting with Brianna, Felicity, and their roommate who loved cosplay. Luna replied in the group chat, "We should still protect Annie and Uncle Chun. I'm worried someone might go harass them." "Your man's trial by temptation is coming, you know," Felicity joked. "It won't come to that. It's all just talk," Brianna said, shaking her head. Then she nodded seriously. "But we still have to keep a close eye on him. Brother won't do anything. He's actually very faithful," Luna said, propping her chin on her hand, a blissful expression on her face. Brianna and Felicity were both stunned. Faithful? Was it the right word for their boss? "Luna, maybe you want to use a different word? Like, he loves you a lot," Brianna suggested. Felicity hummed, lost in thought. A moment later, she continued, "From a certain perspective, Luna's not wrong. He is, in fact, faithful." "What? Felicity, what happened to your romantic ideals? Have they crumbled? Been corrupted, or something?" Brianna's eyes widened, and she blinked. Felicity pushed up her glasses, a rational light flashing in her eyes. "From a biopsychological standpoint, no male is truly monogamous. The word faithful exists only on an emotional level, a need for an individual at a certain stage, not an objective reality. A powerful male will inevitably have multiple, high-quality mates. Like a lion pride, it's a biological law hardwired into our genes. From a socio-psychological perspective, it's an unspoken but inevitable and normal phenomenon. Whether in a patriarchal or matriarchal society, this situation will arise. But our boss isn't promiscuous. He hasn't used his money and power to trample on women. Therefore, I recognize it as a form of faithfulness. He is faithful to his emotions, not controlled by his lower body." Luna nodded vigorously, even giving a thumbs up. Brother really wasn't controlled by his lower body. He was so well-behaved. If she told him not to do that, he wouldn't. The look of blind love on her face, nurtured by their relationship, left Brianna dumbfounded. She looked at Felicity. "Felicity, the boss needs to give you a bonus. I have to tell him how great you are. You even built a theoretical foundation for him." "Of course. I'm a good employee, right, Luna?" Felicity patted Luna's shoulder. Luna nodded vigorously again, completely convinced, her eyes curving into crescents as she smiled. Brianna hugged Luna's arm. "Luna, I don't care. I may not be able to spout theoretical flattery, but I'm a good employee too." "Okay, I'll tell him to give you both promotions and raises," Luna agreed readily. They were already planning on making adjustments for Brianna and Felicity. Felicity was suited for financial accounting and auditing, while Brianna was perfect for financial analysis and cost control. Each would head a department. "I'm so jealous of you guys," the cosplay-loving roommate said, her eyes shining with genuine envy. The three of them were incredibly close, and it was a shame she had gotten to know them so late. "You work hard too. Make up your missing credits, and when you're ready, I'll arrange a spot for you at the company," Luna promised. As long as someone had good character and the right skills, the company needed them. She, Brianna, and Felicity had already accumulated enough credits and were planning to apply for grad school. They had to. They were afraid their professional skills wouldn't keep up otherwise. "Thank you, Luna. I'll put cosplay on hold for a bit and focus on my studies." The cosplayer's eyes were full of gratitude. She had been passionate about cosplay in her freshman and sophomore years, which had cost her some time. It wasn't like these three, who were either working or in class. They had accumulated a wealth of experience while studying their major. Now that she was a junior, she was starting to feel anxious, even regretting her love for cosplay. Time was a fixed pie. Every slice she gave to cosplay was a slice taken from her studies. It was fine when there was no one to compare herself to, but the moment she did, the gap was huge. But her luck was also pretty good. She had ended up in the same dorm as these three. Many people envied her. She secretly motivated herself. As long as she worked hard, she could definitely squeeze in. The four of them chatted for a while longer before heading to their next class. On the 32nd floor of the gallery, Cole also saw the news about himself online. He gave it a cursory glance and paid it no mind. As long as it wasn't a personal attack, he couldn't be bothered. He was already mentally prepared. This kind of talk would follow him for a long time. In the afternoon, after the core executives had arrived at the office, Cole took his three babies, Slice Video's CEO Jenna, and the head of R&D Wyatt to North Lake to see the plot of land. Yvonne had to stay behind to handle work. The drive was less than 10 minutes. The plot was huge, or at least it sounded huge. 3,167 acres, over 11 million square meters. At first glance, it was shocking. How could it be so big? But it wasn't that simple. North Lake was a national 5A rated scenic area. The plot included a large body of water. It wasn't all land, and filling in the lake was strictly forbidden. While building the R&D center, they also had to guarantee the construction of a scenic belt along the lake. This was one of the non-negotiable conditions of the purchase. Furthermore, the land was divided. In the middle were the Happy Valley Theme Park and the Maya Beach Water Park. In his past life, several phases of residential properties were developed here, along with a commercial complex outside the community to complete the amenities. After acquiring this land, Cole was also responsible for the surrounding infrastructure. The spot originally designated for the commercial complex, he planned to subcontract to Vanessa. The office building would be reserved for the Rhythm Group. The city government hopes will build an elementary school, but it wasn't written into the contract, Cole said, pointing to a vacant lot near the intersection after they got out of the car. He understood what the city wanted. The schools in this area were strained, the population was growing, and this plot of land had a large catchment area. Providing an elementary school would help stabilize the surrounding communities. It wasn't in the contract because he wasn't building residential properties, so a school wasn't a requirement. I actually think it's a good idea. When people at the R&D Center get married and have kids, they can go to school right here, Jenna, the CEO of Slice Video, said with a smile. Yes, I agree. It doesn't need to be too big. We can plan the research labs on the other side, so the morning exercises and school bells won't be a disturbance, Wyatt said, voicing his agreement. Cole, I think we'll need a kindergarten too, Jasmine said, a look of anticipation in her eyes. Her maternal instincts were strong, and she was already fantasizing about the happiness of sending their child to kindergarten. It would be even better if her mom could come and help take care of the baby. Yes, then we'll have to build them at a distance from each other. Otherwise, the kindergarten will be too noisy for the elementary school, Serena said, her eyes shining as she imagined the future. Her and Cole's baby would go to school right here. Brother, it's going to be so lively here in the future, Luna said, her big, bright eyes gazing at Cole. In her mind, she was already picturing their child, wondering if it would look more like him or her. Everyone in the inspection group today was an old acquaintance. The three girls were more relaxed, free to call Cole whatever they wanted. Yes, and we're also going to build a commercial complex across the street. Beat Drop will move here eventually, Cole said, smiling gently at Luna. Marcus, the head of the AI research lab, laughed. This place is great. We live at the North Lake residences, so it's a straight shot from here. Just one road, 2 intersections, probably only 5 or 6 minutes. Leo, from the product center side, I never thought you'd be able to get this piece of land, Mr. Chun. Now we have our own base. The group walked along the road towards the lake. The basketball courts, tennis courts, and fitness center were all located near the lake. The vacant land along the very edge of the water had to be developed into a park, as per the agreement. The entire lakeside had to be accessible to visitors to maintain the integrity of the 5A scenic area. Cole, I suggest we open up a road through the middle so visitors can get straight to the lake from the main avenue, Jasmine proposed. You mean we should treat our R&D center as part of the scenery, Cole said, glancing at Jasmine with an appreciative look in his eyes. He had been thinking the same thing. The two of them were on the same wavelength. Yes, this land covers a large area. Visitors will inevitably complain if they have to walk all the way around. It's better to be more community-friendly. We could just put up a fence, Jasmine nodded. Ms. Yang is right, Wyatt agreed. This will have a positive effect on our corporate image. All right, we'll plan it as you've said, Cole agreed, going with the flow. They spent the better part of the afternoon strolling around, discussing all the related plans. The construction of this base held great symbolic significance for the entire Rhythm Group. Suddenly, Cole's phone rang. A look at the caller ID showed it was Sasha. Cole's expression turned serious. Sasha rarely called unless it was something important. Mr. Chun, someone tried to install a listening device and a tracker on your car in the underground garage. The security guards caught him. Okay, I'll be back soon. Where is he? Cole asked. He hadn't driven his own Audi today, but had taken 2 of the company's business vans instead. The security guards in the underground garage had long been replaced. They were no longer old and frail, but all young men. Rhythm Group paid a portion of their salaries, so they were naturally more dedicated to their work. In the security office in the garage, Sasha replied. They didn't get rough with him, did they? No, he's being very arrogant. Said we could send him to jail. Good, then send him to jail. We'll wait for him to get out, Cole said with a smile. Invading someone's privacy, without having caused any actual harm yet, would at most result in a fine of under $500 in detention for no more than 5 days. The guy was playing hardball, but if he was going to mess with Cole Chun, he'd find out he couldn't win that game. Understood, Mr. Chun. After hanging up, Cole turned to the others as if nothing had happened. Let's continue. Jasmine, Serena, and Luna all noticed. In that brief moment, Cole's eyes had turned ice cold. But since he didn't mention it, they didn't ask. 5 days later, Rockford's second detention center, Leo Roth, who had been detained for invasion of privacy, walked out. He was 32, of average height, with slightly long, greasy shoulder-length hair and a bit of a paunch. He stretched his chest contentedly, then shook his head, whipping his hair around. He turned back and said to the guard with a sycophantic grin, "Thanks, officer. The air out here feels great. Stay out of trouble. Get a real job and don't come back," the officer said, waving a dismissive hand as he locked the gate. "You got it, officer. I definitely won't be back." Leo Roth nodded and bowed, his attitude obsequious. Once the gate was closed, he let out a disdainful snort, his body shaking with laughter. He slicked back his hair and walked towards the road to hail a cab, full of himself. Once in the car, thinking about the job he'd failed to complete, he cursed his bad luck under his breath. His phone rang. "Leo, you out?" "What? You think I was going to stay in there till New Year's?" Leo Roth scoffed. "I told you not to do it. So what if I did? It's just a few days in detention. It's not like I haven't been locked up before." "Ha, piece of cake," Leo Roth said, twisting his lips into a sneer, completely dismissive even in front of the driver. "You should still be careful. This guy isn't just anybody," the person on the other end warned him. Leo Roth grew impatient, propping his leg up on the seat. What could happen? What's he going to do to me? If he's got the balls, let him send someone after me. I'd welcome it. I'll blow this thing wide open. Maybe don't come back to the office for a bit. Wait for things to cool down. The voice on the other end was cut off by commotion. "Does Leo Roth work here? Who's the person in charge?" "That's me." "Hello. Leo quit a few days ago. We don't know where he went." "Quit? What crap is that?" "Tell him to pay back his money." "He really did quit. Who are you people? Why are you being so nosy? What, you gonna step up and pay his debt for him?" No. We're just his colleagues." In the car, Leo Roth said nothing, his jaw clenched. He listened silently to the voices on the phone, a knot of tension forming in his stomach. It sounded like creditors had shown up at his office. He had indeed borrowed money twice, spending it all on investments and women. Could it be him? The thought crossed his mind, but he dismissed it. He knows I'm in detention here. If he wanted to find me, he could have just waited for me here. No need to go to the office. It must be my real creditors, not him. The voice came back on the phone. "They don't seem friendly. They're looking for you. Did you borrow money? You should probably lie low for a while. It'll give you a chance to avoid this mess, too." "That's what I was thinking," Leo Roth nodded. He got out of the cab 50 yards from his rented apartment complex. He looked left and right, making sure no one was following him. He had specifically rented a place in Rockford for this job, and had staked it out for a long time to get the license plate number. If he could just overhear something, he could break a huge story. He would become the first media person on the internet to expose the private life of that man. He would be the next big thing. Being cautious, he first walked into the old residential complex next door. The paths inside were winding and confusing. He meandered through them, emerging from a street on the other side. After confirming he wasn't being watched, he slipped through the side gate of his own complex. He went upstairs, grabbed his bag containing his passport and other belongings, and immediately came back down. He hailed another taxi. "To the airport." "You got it." The driver was pleased. A fare to the airport was good money. Leo Roth watched the cars behind them warily, checking to see if he was being tailed. There was no one. Once they were on the expressway to the airport, he finally relaxed. It seemed that man really had no intention of pursuing the matter. So magnanimous. That's what rich people were like. They'd say it was beneath them to get their hands dirty, but the truth was they were just cowards. People like that were afraid of getting caught with a scandal on their hands, so they didn't dare confront him directly. The kind were easy to bully, and the high and mighty were easy to bully too. Leo Roth crossed his legs and leisurely lit a cigarette. He'd broken plenty of big stories before and had never gotten into trouble. No one knew it was him. The company he worked for wasn't even in media. He always used accounts registered under fake IDs. He remained untroubled all the way until he boarded the flight to Tokyo. That's when he completely let his guard down. He had a business visa ready specifically for moments like this, for a quick getaway. He often went to Tokyo to enjoy himself. He knew the place well. As soon as he landed, he hailed a cab to Shinjuku. He needed to unwind, to wash away the bad luck of the past few days. In the car, the driver excitedly told him about a newly opened brothel, describing a recently debuted housewife with spittle flying from his mouth. "You must try it, sir. It's the most wonderful experience in the world." "You've been?" Leo Roth asked in his broken Japanese. Once. Just once. I still dream about it. Is it expensive? Only 20,000 yen. An ultimate experience and a great deal. Leo Roth was tempted. It was only about $250. Special services were extra. All right, let's go there. It was a brothel called the Shinden Enclave, which catered to customers from other Asian countries. The entrance was eye-catching, with stand-up banners introducing some of the service staff. Shiraishi Mari, 22 years old. One word big, another word short. That didn't matter. Leo Roth cleared his throat and walked in amidst enthusiastic greetings. When the bubble bath service was over, Leo Roth's face was pale. His bag was still there, but his phone and the money inside were gone. Brothels required customers to look after their own valuables, but theft was rare. And the bag had been in the room the whole time. How could it have suddenly disappeared? What is the meaning of this? You owe me an explanation. I want to see your manager. Leo Roth was furious, questioning the other staff. A young man with blonde hair bowed. Please pay your bill. Thank you very much. Pay my ass. There's no one else here. You must have stolen my money. I'm calling the police. The door slid open with a sharp thwack. Several burly men in suits stood in the doorway, their faces grim. You dare dine and dash in my place. Before Leo Roth could say anything, he was brutally beaten. Fists and feet rained down on him. He saw stars, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. His whole body ached. He felt like his insides were being pulped. His head throbbed with pain until he lost consciousness. He curled up on the floor, unable to move or even speak. But in his mind, a thread of understanding began to form. He had been driven here. Even if it wasn't this brothel, the same thing would have happened at any other. Soon the police arrived. They handcuffed him and took him to the station. Brothels were legal in Japan. So were bubble baths. As for what happened inside the bubbles, who cared? As long as they paid their taxes, it was all okay. Therefore, Leo Roth had broken the law. Going to the hospital was out of the question. He didn't even have a phone. Contacting his family was a fantasy. The next day, Rockford, 32nd floor of the gallery. Cole listened to the phone call with a blank expression. There was a news story from Japan online. Foreign national arrested for dining and dashing at a Shinjuku brothel. Also implicated in the sexual assault of a service worker. According to Japanese law, he may face a sentence of more than 2 years. After reading the news, he replied coolly, yes. Settle the bill. We don't skip out on our tabs. He hung up, a cold light glinting in his eyes. He sighed. People, no matter where you go, you should always have the intention to pay. You can't just take a bite, wipe your mouth, and expect to walk away. Life doesn't work like that. Shinjuku, Japan. A local precinct detention center. In a crowded cell, Leo Roth was curled up on his mat, his body still aching. He wanted to see a doctor, to call the embassy for help, but his pleas were ignored. An infinite well of venom had already formed in his heart. Fine. So fine. You set me up. You got guts. Even if I'm sentenced, it's only 2 years. I'll make some connections in prison. I'll be out in less than 2. And when I get out, if I don't blow your world apart, my name isn't Leo Roth. He ground his teeth so hard they squeaked. The hatred in his eyes seemed to glow. The iron door was suddenly opened, and someone was shoved inside. Another detainee, it seemed. He was bald and much older, his face a mess of wrinkles. As soon as he entered, the other detainees tensed up, their expressions unnatural. Consumed by his own hatred, Leo Roth didn't pay much attention. Late that night, Leo Roth was deep in a hazy sleep, dreaming of blowing his world apart. Suddenly, something tightened around his neck. He instinctively struggled, clawing desperately at the object on his throat. It was a rubber cord. Quickly, asphyxiation made his head swell. Frustration, anxiety, despair. He clawed frantically. If he could just have one more breath of air, he would do anything. Under the agony of oxygen deprivation, his body convulsed uncontrollably. In the final moment, before his consciousness faded into chaos, he finally felt regret. The other detainees in the cell shrank back, not daring to move a muscle. 8 days later, Rockford held the groundbreaking ceremony for the Rhythm Group's R&D Center. Key leaders from the Rockford city and county governments, as well as important officials from the state government, were in attendance. The top leaders stood in the center, with Cole standing beside them on the outermost edge. They all held shovels, smiling for the cameras. The lieutenant governor personally announced the start of construction. The group symbolically shoveled some dirt, pouring it at the base of the already erected groundbreaking steel. The veterans of Rhythm Group and the accompanying state and city officials applauded enthusiastically. Camera flashes went off ceaselessly. The state broadcast network and the Rockford City television station were also there to record the event. That evening, the news appeared on the national 7 o'clock news broadcast. According to a report from our affiliate, the state's largest internet technology R&D center broke ground today. Lieutenant Governor Fan Yong-min attended the groundbreaking ceremony and delivered a speech afterward, emphasizing the need to promote the vigorous development of the state's internet-related industries. The reporter first interviewed the officials, then interviewed the CEO of Rhythm Group, Cole Chun. Cole said, "The times are advancing, and technology must keep pace. With this R&D center, and with the support and encouragement of the state and city leaders, Headline Today and Beat Drop will be better able to serve economic development and the people's livelihood." That night, many people in front of their televisions met this excessively young chairman and CEO for the first time. From major cities to rural towns, anyone who watched the 7 o'clock news noticed him. Every viewer was captivated. Some were drinking tea, some were eating dinner. Except for the toddlers focused on their food, everyone's eyes were glued to the screen. It was impossible not to notice. He was too young, incredibly handsome. He had a steady temperament, yet he hadn't lost the vibrant energy of youth. His demeanor was humble and polite. His eyes were bright. At first glance, you might think he was some celebrity. But on closer inspection, you'd see him standing with state leaders, shoveling dirt. He was the boss of a well-known internet company. Many uninformed people guessed that he must be a legacy kid. If he wasn't, how could someone so young appear on the national news? That was the common perception. Envy, jealousy, admiration, all sorts of feelings swirled. But then, on the 7:40 primetime news special, the host grandly introduced the guest for the interview, Cole Chun of Headline Today. Cole Chun, chairman and CEO of Headline Today, chairman of Beat Drop, and a junior at Eastwood University. Born in 1992 to a family of educators, his mother is an elementary school teacher and his father is a factory accountant. He loved learning from a young age and was full of curiosity about new things. After enrolling at Eastwood University, he started a milk tea shop by chance and then founded Headline Today. While working hard to complete his studies, he also strives to provide part-time job opportunities for students. The program played on the living room TV. Professor Diaz, who was watching, sprayed a mouthful of tea everywhere. "Cough, cough, cough. I can't believe you," his husband grumbled, getting up to grab a mop. Linden Creek, the Millworks neighborhood. Helen Chun was dabbing her eyes with a tissue, crying her heart out. Don Chen's eyes were also moist. That was his son, so familiar, yet somehow a stranger. The son who had been both obedient and rebellious. Now he was appearing on screen with the governor, and then on a primetime special, full of confidence, mature and steady. Don Chen sighed. "That's my boy, all right. As handsome as I am. He gets his looks from me, you know," Helen, who had been crying, said with an exasperated laugh. A few blocks away, in the district apartments, David Chun was also watching TV. The 7 o'clock news was a must-see. His daughter had told him Cole had gone to the Capitol to record an interview, so he stayed tuned for the special report. Beside him, Helen Chun, now retired, was also watching, her feet propped up in her husband's lap. Both wore complex expressions. After watching the news, they realized Cole had powerful backers, and they were backing him strongly. As people in politics, they naturally knew how much effort it took to acquire that piece of land. The fierce struggles involved went without saying. The lieutenant governor personally attending the groundbreaking ceremony was a clear statement of support, and Cole's attitude also showed whose side he was on. If it had been anyone else, they might have thought Cole was just a frontman. But the Chuns lived just a few blocks from the Chens. They knew the Chun family better than anyone. They were just an ordinary family, farmers for the past 3 generations. The sigh in David Chun's heart was particularly deep. Even Helen Chun, deep down, was impressed. Her feelings were incredibly complicated. In the state capital, the elder and second Chun brothers were also watching the news. Indeed, see, the elder he and his 2 sons were watching. Some of the biggest names in the business world, tipped off by their subordinates, had also turned on their televisions to watch the news and the interview. What they saw was the direction of national policy and Cole's choice. As high as the viewership ratings were, that's how many people were paying attention to Cole Chun on the TV. And now, please welcome the chairman and CEO of Headline Today, Cole Chun. Amidst applause, Cole walked onto the stage and shook hands with the beautiful host. "Hello, Cole." "Hello." Cole smiled humbly, giving her hand a polite, brief shake. After taking a seat, he sat up straight and proper, his legs slightly apart. His hands were gently clasped in his lap. His expression was friendly and natural, not at all ostentatious. The viewers in front of their televisions couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration. His looks and temperament were top-notch. Only 20 years old, unmarried, no children, and not a legacy kid. Countless families began their lectures. Look at him, he's like that at 20, and you're still not studying hard. See that? Education is the way out. Now get back to your room and do your homework. Others started making phone calls. Honey, aren't you at Eastwood? Do you know him? Sweetie, study hard. Try to get an interview there. Some of Cole's old classmates were also watching the news. Their QQ and Messenger groups had already exploded. Amidst the shock and amazement, they started telling their friends about their prestigious connection to the chairman of Headline Today. The primetime special was pre-recorded and aired together with the news of the groundbreaking ceremony. The two complemented each other perfectly. Cole's phone buzzed with congratulatory messages. Replying was Amy Huang's job. She would only ask Cole if she was unsure about the wording. The news on a national network and the interview, along with the state broadcast, pushed the Rhythm Group to new heights. Beat Drop's download numbers surged once again. Due to the construction of the R&D center, Cole had to temporarily postpone the spin-off of the web novel division. The construction site was completely handed over to Vanessa to manage. He simply didn't have the energy or time to deal with it. Cole used funds from Headline Today to establish a new company, DataVantage, LLC. Marcus from the AI Research Lab served as its concurrent CEO. The company focused on big data processing services, including data collection, storage, analysis, and mining, helping businesses improve their data processing efficiency. In theory, they could develop many intelligent products, such as data mining software, analysis tools, and visualization platforms. Cole was thinking ahead, getting this done early. While serving Beat Drop, it could also take on clients from various other industries in the future. Time flew by, and it was already the end of September. In his office, Cole was currently looking at a financial audit report, his expression grim. The report was an internal financial audit of the company's various subordinate departments and regional branches. Luna, the vice president of the finance center, had discovered multiple cases of fraudulent expense claims and bribery in exchange for bringing in service providers and advertisers. As the company grew and the number of employees increased, things naturally became more complicated. The Rhythm Group was no longer dominated by current students. Nearly 2/3 of the employees were recent graduates or had graduated long ago. Some of them, feeling that the emperor was far away, had succumbed to temptation and damaged the company's interests. The head of the New York City regional office was also a problem. He had repeatedly accepted banquets from service providers and advertisers, frequented high-end entertainment venues, and had placed relatives in important positions. He had also tacitly allowed and condoned partners using fake accounts to inflate data. If it were just about his personal spending, that would be his private life, and Cole wouldn't have cared. But to bring in service providers at high prices and advertisers at low prices was tantamount to selling out the company. And inflating data damaged the company's reputation. This kind of thing would certainly happen again in the future. But whenever it was caught, it had to be dealt with. There would be absolute zero tolerance. For a company to develop steadily in the long term, it had to be strict and unyielding on this front. Luna sat quietly on the sofa, occasionally glancing at Cole. For the past month, her brother had rarely gone to the Golden Bay residences. He hadn't even had time for their usual fun. He was just too busy. He had traveled to various places multiple times, visiting local governments and attending symposiums. There were state-owned enterprises, private companies, and political and business circles. Her brother actively promoted Beat Drop's role in the local economy, showcasing successful case studies. He also had to visit key institutions to increase their understanding of the internet and attend meetings organized by relevant departments. He was flying back and forth, always looking weary from his travels. Luna's heart ached for him. His business had grown so large, her brother couldn't stop. She couldn't help in other ways, so she could only be meticulous in her professional work. The result was this audit report. Looking at her brother's eyes, as calm and deep as an old well, Luna remembered the online chatter from over a month ago. Not long after, it had all disappeared. Several bloggers on Twitter had deleted their posts. No one was writing about her brother's private life anymore. Luna had a faint idea of what might have happened, but she wouldn't ask. Sensing the young woman's gaze, Cole looked up. The frost on his face melted away, replaced instantly by a warm smile. "What is it? Why do you keep peeking at me?" "Brother." Luna glanced at the closed office door, then got up and trotted over, her body bouncing in a way that made Cole's head spin. He wrapped his arms around the slender waist of the young woman standing beside him. "What's wrong? Tell me." "Nothing. I'm just worried you're tired," Luna said, touching Cole's face, her voice full of concern. "I'm not really tired. I just haven't relaxed in a long time, Cole said with a mischievous grin. Luna's face turned red. She buried her head in Cole's neck and whispered, "Brother, we can't in the office. It violates the safety management regulations." "Then what should I do?" Cole asked deliberately. Luna's small face was pressed tightly against Cole's neck, and it was already burning up. Her hair cascaded over his shoulders, the fruity scent of her shampoo mixing with the floral scent of her hair. She hesitated for a long time before weakly saying, "Brother, it will delay your work." "No, it won't. I'm not in a rush right now. There's always time if you just squeeze it in," Cole said, sounding very motivational. "How about tonight?" "Brother, it's Tuesday. Tonight, you can relax however you want," Luna said, turning her head to kiss his neck. She really wanted her brother to relax. For the past month, the members of the family committee had spent their time studying in their dorms. None of them had gotten any of her brother's time. "Lou, can I get a 50% advance now, and save the other half for tonight?" Cole asked, his gaze drifting towards her collar. His heart began to pound. Luna was silent for a long time, her cheeks growing hotter and hotter. After what felt like an eternity, she said weakly, "Brother, just a little bit of relaxation. I'll go lock the door." She stood up straight, her skirt fluttering as she quickly ran to the door and locked it. Then, like a little red-faced rabbit, she bounced back, biting her lip, her eyes filled with a shy love. Cole's gaze became strange, as if he had returned to a certain winter, where the dark night and white snow reflected each other. But it wasn't cold at all. In fact, it was a little hot. 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door, followed by Amy Huang's voice. "Chun, mister. Wyatt says he'll be here in half an hour to discuss something." "Okay," Cole answered. Luna quickly got down and straightened her clothes. She hurriedly took out a small mirror and reapplied her lipstick, then leaned down to dab some on her brother's lips as well. Then she pressed her mouth to his and whispered, "Brother, you should get back to business." "Yes, we'll continue tonight," Cole said, tasting the fruity flavor. He felt much more refreshed. Luna returned to the sofa, taking a deep breath to calm her flushed, burning face. Training her brother was an ordeal for her as well. Tonight, she was definitely in for it. How exciting. Back to work. Cole's expression became calm again. He silently reviewed the report one more time. Later, find 2 finance people who are willing to go to New York. They'll leave with the new manager after the holiday, he said. The day after tomorrow was the start of the holiday break. To lull the targets into a false sense of security, he would strike with lightning speed after the break. "Got it, brother. I'll go make the arrangements now." "All right." After Luna left, Cole had Amy call Yvonne in. A moment later, Yvonne entered, looking a little nervous. She stood obediently in front of his desk. Cole pushed the report towards her. "The head of the New York regional office was your trainee. You handle it." "I'm sorry, Mr. Chun. I didn't do my job properly," Yvonne said, looking ashamed. As the leader, her lack of supervision made her partly responsible. Last year, it was the Austin office. Now, it was the New York City office. 2 veteran employees had gone astray. The one in Austin fell for money from a woman. The one in New York was suddenly in a high position, his character not matching his status. "You don't have to be sorry. This kind of thing will be common, and it'll never be completely eliminated. We just have to deal with it every time we find it," Cole said, reassuring her. He then added, "But as the vice president of the business department, you still need to conduct a self-review. In your long-term management work, failing to notice any clues is negligence." Yvonne nodded her head firmly twice. "Yes, Mr. Chun. After I handle this matter, I will hold a self-reflection meeting for the executives, including myself. We all need to conduct a self-review and reflect on this." "Good." Cole expressed his approval. Handling the matter first to prevent leaks, Vice President Wang was still very vigilant. She bore some responsibility, but it wasn't entirely her fault. With so many tasks, oversights were inevitable. Cole's main point was to remind her to be careful. Summon the NYC manager back for a debriefing after the break. On the 9th, the new manager will depart. You pick the successor yourself. You will personally take them there, along with the personnel from the Finance Center's audit department. Report the 2 accountants originally hired by the branch office to the police. Officer Riley will accompany you with 6 of her people. Those 2 accountants were related to the manager. They wouldn't escape charges of providing false financial reports and embezzlement of public funds. "Mr. Chun, do the other supervisor-level staff need to be replaced?" Yvonne knew they couldn't be replaced for now, but she still sought Cole's opinion. "Don't replace them yet. Observe them. Anyone who shows dissatisfaction will be dealt with." Cole's eyes grew deep. "I'd rather fire an innocent person than let a guilty one slide. I don't have time to play detective." "Understood, Mr. Chun. Yvonne didn't say another word in defense of her department staff. The man was furious. His calmness was the greatest sign of his anger. At this moment, she didn't even dare to show her usual little flirtations. When handling business, even the First Lady, Jasmine, maintained the posture of a subordinate. Lately, this man's presence had grown even more imposing. Just his silence could create immense pressure. After Yvonne left, Cole notified Jasmine and Serena. Both of them were in class, but immediately asked for leave and came over. They sat properly on the sofa. Right now, Cole had no sisters, only the vice president of the Human Resources Center. Ms. Young, after the holiday, make this a case study and communicate it effectively within the company. Have the communications department write a notice titled, "I have zero tolerance for corruption." If you're getting paid a high salary, don't cross the company's red lines. Either that, or give up your position and go live freely outside, where you can do whatever you want. Yes, Mr. Chun. Jasmine nodded solemnly. If you were talking about responsibility, she had some too. Corporate communications was part of the HR center. If the ideological work wasn't up to par, that was also a dereliction of duty. Her brother didn't blame her, but she felt a little ashamed. During this period, her brother had been running around, often very serious, sometimes with a furrowed brow. He wasn't even interested in fun anymore. She saw it all, and her heart ached for him. Expanding the territory was truly not easy. Her heart softened. Maybe I should cross out one of the safety management regulations? Cole then looked at Serena. Ms. Shun, the legal center should prepare a contingency plan and list all relevant evidence. If anyone acts up upon dismissal, use this opportunity to make it a model case. It will serve as a deterrent to anyone in the company with corrupt thoughts. The litigation can be handed over to Mr. Zhao's team. Yes, Mr. Chun. Serena also obediently refrained from calling him Cole. In her eyes, her Cole had become mysterious at this moment, like a male tiger patrolling his territory, radiating a potent masculine aura. She was mesmerized by that aura, but didn't dare to get close. Today was Luna's Tuesday, so the holiday was coming up. She would properly reward her Cole then. Cole went over a few more details before letting the two girls go back to school. That night at the Golden Bay residences, Cole had just come out of the shower when he saw a pair of bunny ears peeking out from under the thin blanket, slightly bent. He instantly transformed into a wolf. The big white rabbit, embarrassed, hid in the corner of the bed, trembling. Until late at night, the room was filled with pleas of brother, bro. The next day when he left, he ran into his downstairs neighbor in the elevator. When he greeted her, he noticed she had dark circles under her eyes. She kept avoiding his gaze. Her haggard look was truly baffling. Tomorrow, September 30th, the holiday would begin. It was another executive team-building event. Cole hadn't planned on one, but a few core executives insisted on getting together. So together it was. Amy Huang wasn't an executive, but she was his secretary, responsible for arranging the food, lodging, and travel for this event. After a discussion in the core executive group chat, the event was set to be at a resort villa in Koh Samui, Thailand. The Four Seasons Resort. All oceanfront villas. They came in all sizes. The largest could accommodate 15 adults, plus children. The office door was knocked on, and Lin Fan ran in, looking annoyed. I'm going too. You didn't even tell me. Go where? Cole feigned ignorance, still pretending. Whitney already told me you're all going to Koh Samui. I want to go too. Lin Fan stomped her foot and ran to the sofa to sit down, fuming. She wasn't a punk kid anymore. As a company leader, wearing ripped jeans would be undignified, but she still had a bit of a bold style. Wide-legged pants that could create a breeze when she walked. Huge earrings that probably weighed a few ounces if you took them off. She still wore heavy pink eyeshadow and long, curled eyelashes, like a Barbie doll. She was the one who ran wild at Rhythm Group, but she knew her limits. She only acted willful in front of few people. In front of others, she was very composed. She was also becoming more mature in handling matters. Over time, Cole had come to see her as a younger sister. That big-mouth Whitney, Cole complained. Whitney's great. You think she's like you? Cole lies without blinking. Chun. Lin Fan defended Whitney, leaving Cole speechless. He chuckled sheepishly and said helplessly, all right, you can come along. You're darn right I can. I've worked hard. Look, my department hasn't made a single mistake. I worked so hard. Lin Fan complained, listing her achievements. Yes, Lin, you're amazing. Cole nodded vigorously, giving her a thumbs up. He admitted this point. With Vanessa's guidance, Lin's performance was quite good. Exactly. So tell me, should I go or not? Lin Fan raised her head proudly. You should. Cole pursed his lips and nodded fiercely, looking deeply convinced. Lin Fan stood up, satisfied. All right, since you know, then I'm relieved. My mom is going too. Even better. With Auntie Vanessa there, she can look after you, Cole said, unconcerned. It was good that Vanessa was coming to keep Lin in check, to prevent her from running off when she got excited. That could still be dangerous. Cole had already asked Sasha and Officer Riley to take some people ahead this afternoon to procure the necessary firearms for security. Guns were legal to possess with a permit in Thailand. To ensure their safety, Cole wouldn't be stingy with the expenses. At his level, traveling abroad was not easy. A large team of bodyguards was a must. Fortunately, Sasha had already recruited many capable hands. For ordinary people, traveling was generally not dangerous. The incidents that happened in his past life all had their own reasons. The people you meet depend on the circles you run in. That was a rule. Cole had once organized a company trip to Thailand without any incidents. You could even bargain when shopping. Most vendors could speak a few words of Chinese. The guy selling barbecue downstairs from the hotel was even from the Northeast. Cole knew Whitney had a big mouth, but he hadn't expected Vanessa's to be even bigger. The phone call came that evening. Cole, I have a few good friends who want to come along. It's safer with you. Fine. Everyone could come. A contribution to Thai tourism. Just as Vanessa's call ended, Professor Diaz's phone rang. Cole, I hear you're going to Thailand. Can I tag along? There are just 3 of us in my family, and we were wondering where to go. Of course, Professor Diaz, Cole said with a smile. Haha, great. We'll just follow you, kid. Professor Diaz hung up, satisfied. But it wasn't long before one call followed another. Families, young and old, all said they would pay their own way. They just wanted to tag along for safety. Cole was numb. Who is it? Who has such a big mouth? He wondered if the resort offered referral fees. What was originally planned as a 5-person family vacation to a Thai beach had morphed into a mega-sized tour group. Several university leaders and professors, with their families in tow. Vanessa had 5 of her own friends, all wealthy women, needless to say. Amy Huang was so busy that her phone never stopped ringing all day, contacting the hotel to book villas. At first, the hotel was strictly businesslike. Other customers had also made reservations, so they couldn't provide that many suites. Perhaps it was Cole's name that did the trick. Half an hour later, they called back specifically to say they could absolutely meet the demand, as long as the hotel was allowed to run a news item after the holiday. And they'd give a 50% discount on all the room rates. After hearing Amy's report, Cole agreed without a second thought. With so many people traveling, the news would get out anyway. If the hotel wanted to advertise, let them. Even if he didn't agree, the hotel would probably find a way to publicize it through someone else. If he gave his tacit approval, everyone would be happy. When you go on vacation, you just want to have a good time. No need for extra trouble. A final headcount revealed. Holy crap, 66 people. Booking flights for so many people at the last minute was unrealistic. This was where money and power showed their absolute advantage. Cole, the tycoon Chun, waved his hand and decided to charter an Airbus A320. Plus, with the women in the tour group being either rich or well-connected, they had some clout. Eastern Airlines immediately freed up a plane. The cost was a discounted $45,000 for a one-way trip. The undiscounted rate was 60, 000 minus 60, 000-60, 000 minus 70, 000. Furthermore, the city of Rockford had close cooperation with the Thai government in trade, tourism, and education. A call to the embassy there resulted in a convenience. Visa-free entry upon arrival. Thailand's visa-free policy for China was a thing of the 2023s in his past life. Before that, it was visa on arrival. That evening, in a steakhouse on the 4th floor of the gallery, at a 4-person table by the wall, Fiona sat next to a young man, across from Whitney and Jenna. Open your mouth. The young man speared a piece of steak with his fork and brought it to Fiona's lips. Fiona took a delicate bite, looking completely at ease. Fifi, I'm going to buy some sunglasses later. Want to come? Whitney asked. I'll pass. I promised I'd go for a walk with Evan later, Fiona said, enjoying the way the young man diligently wiped her mouth. Jenna looked at the young man, then at Fiona, an unreadable expression on her face, but she said nothing. The young man was handsome enough, meticulously dressed. His hair was styled, and it looked like he was wearing concealer. He couldn't compare to Mr. Chin's natural good looks, though. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. The young man had the vibe of a pretty boy from an idol drama, whereas Mr. Chun had a domineering, masculine charm, though he could occasionally play the part of a pretty boy in front of Ms. Young. Jenna didn't know if Fiona had written too many CEO romance novels, and her taste in boyfriends had skewed in that direction. But this guy wasn't a CEO. Mr. Chin was a real CEO. Jenna really didn't know what had gotten into Fiona. It was like her mind had suddenly been clouded by lard. She'd heard he had been pursuing her for over 2 months, and from the looks of it, she had agreed. There was something Jenna had been wanting to remind Fiona about, but she couldn't find the right moment. She heard Whitney ask again, "Fifi, are you coming with the group?" He insisted on coming. He's paying his own way. He was afraid I wouldn't be able to take care of myself, saying all sorts of nauseating things like he can't live without me. Fiona said with a laugh. She turned to the young man. "You really can't live without me. If you didn't have to work, I wouldn't want to leave your side for a single second," the young man said, gazing at Fiona with deep affection. "See? He's just like that. So clingy," Fiona said, a look of feigned helplessness but actual pride on her face. Whitney and Jenna exchanged a quick glance while eating. Jenna said, seemingly casually, "I heard from Mr. Chin that Ms. Fan's friends are coming this time, all women." "Yeah, Ms. Fan's friends are either rich or noble. I hear they're all bringing their kids. All girls too," Whitney added, glancing at the young man. The young man took a bite himself, then speared another piece to feed Fiona, seemingly not paying any attention. "That'll be lively," Fiona said, looking completely satisfied as she ate, even craning her neck to enjoy having her mouth wiped, though it didn't need it. Seeing that Fiona, lost in the throes of new love, still hadn't realized the problem, Jenna and Whitney looked at each other again. They said no more. After a while, the young man stood up to go to the restroom. Once he was out of sight, Jenna seized the opportunity. "Fifi, do you know this friend of yours?" "Of course I do," Fiona said, with a what a stupid question look on her face. "He checked out my chest twice, and he was checking me out, even though I look like this. Have you ever thought?" Jenna stopped. What she meant should be obvious. "Yeah, he checked me out too," Whitney added. She was a B-cup at least, and a solid 6 out of 10 in looks. With the confidence that came with money and a bit of effort, she could look quite presentable. "No way," Fiona said, her face full of surprise and disbelief. "He's very devoted. He never looks at other women when we're out shopping." Then she added, "Are you guys trying to use this to get me not to bring him?" Before Whitney and Jenna could speak, she continued, "Don't worry, he's not that kind of person. Besides, Wyatt and the guys are all going. Aren't they men? What's the big deal?" Jenna glanced towards the restaurant entrance and whispered, "We know Wyatt and the guys inside and out. But the boss doesn't know this friend of yours. You've only known him for 2 months. You might not know him, but you don't know the boss either." "It's not like that. It's not like that." Fiona waved her hand, completely disagreeing. "The boss isn't that petty. Fifi, has falling in love made you stupid?" Whitney's expression turned serious. "We're going to be wearing swimsuits. Fifi, you're not thinking of bringing him to stay in the same villa as the boss, are you?" Jenna's eyes widened, a very bad feeling washing over her. "He could just stay in the villa next door. You guys are overthinking things. This is a bit disrespectful, don't you think?" Fiona was getting unhappy. She continued, "It's not like we can stay in separate places. And if I wear a swimsuit then, won't he get jealous too?" "Fifi," Jenna stared at Fiona. "Tell me you're just being clueless and not that you really don't understand the boss." "Of course, I understand him." Fiona looked surprised. "I've been with him for so long. How can I not understand him?" "Relax. He's not petty. It's like that at the beach." Jenna and Whitney looked at each other again. They both saw the gravity of the situation in each other's eyes. The boss was not good-tempered. He was just good to them. Fiona was truly blinded. This was going to be a disaster. Jenna took a deep breath and said calmly, "Fifi, if you insist on bringing your friend, I advise you to skip this group trip and go somewhere else on your own." "Why? You still think he's going to stare, don't you? We've been colleagues and friends for 2 years, and you still don't trust me." Fiona put down her knife and fork, her gaze filled with displeasure. "The boss has looked at me before, and I never told him. How is that the same?" "The boss looks at you because you happen to be in his line of sight," Whitney retorted. "How is it different?" "It's still looking," Fiona argued stubbornly. Fine. We've warned you. Don't regret it later," Whitney sighed. Fiona was full of confidence, her tone growing impatient. "Look, I know you mean well, but he's really devoted to me. He won't look around. Trust me, Fifi, you've been the creative center this whole time, so maybe you don't pay much attention to certain things." Jenna tried to persuade her one last time. "You only know the side of the boss he shows you. You know too little. This is very dangerous." Whitney also pleaded earnestly, "Yes, Fifi, your current position didn't come easy. Meeting the boss was the biggest blessing of your life. Don't lose your head over some, unless you're prepared to give up everything. You guys are being too dramatic. The boss isn't that kind of person, and neither is Evan." Fiona's unhappiness was now plain on her face. Outside in the corridor, in the fire escape stairwell. Don't worry, guys. I'll never forget you. I should be able to pay you back in a few days. With interest, the young man lit a cigarette, holding his phone to his ear, a smug smile on his face. A sour male voice came from the phone. You lucky bastard. Remember, if you see the really pretty ones, don't forget to let us have a look too. The young man tilted his head back and blew a perfect smoke ring, leisurely saying, We'll see. If I get a chance, I'll snap a few pics. If not, can't help it. As if that wasn't enough of a boast, he added, Let me tell you, I just heard his colleagues say that all the women going are rich. Rich and noble. Damn, you must have saved the planet in your last life, or something. The voice on the other end was intensely jealous. Huh, just lucky, I guess. Hey, but their company has a lot of beautiful women. I'll introduce you guys later, back in the steakhouse. Just as Jenna was about to say more, the young man returned. She had to stop. She looked across the table with a complicated expression, as if she could already see Fiona's lonely figure leaving Rhythm Group. As for her shares, there was a clause in the contract for causing harm or loss to the company, including but not limited to reputation, property, etc. All shares granted to the recipient will be recovered without compensation, and legal responsibility will be pursued. Her pleading was useless. She could only hope Fiona would come to her senses in time. On the morning of the 30th, the large tour group gathered at the airport. The three babies and Yvonne were dressed like goddesses. Whitney and Jenna already had the air of elite professionals, with two words written all over them: rich. The girls all wore sunglasses, looking cool and beautiful. How come Fifi isn't here yet? Cole scanned the crowd but didn't see Fiona. She said she's almost here, Jenna said, glancing at the boss, wanting to say more, but holding back. As a subordinate, speaking up would make it seem like she was gossiping about a colleague. But if she didn't, Fiona was likely doomed. It was a dilemma. A group of mature women walked over. Cole was taken aback by the sheer presence of Vanessa's group. Not only were they all dressed like wealthy socialites, but each family had 2 large suitcases. They hadn't brought their husbands, only their daughters. The oldest looked to be under 18, others looked 14 or 15, and one was only 6 or 7. They were all quite pretty. Women who could marry into wealthy families usually had good features. The remaining 6 female bodyguard from the security department hurried over to take the luggage and load into the plane's cargo hold. Vanessa waved. Cole, come, let me introduce you. This is your Annie Lee from the State Tobacco Company. This is your Annie Fong from the auto manufacturer. This is your Annie Ma from the State Railway. Cole put on his customary humble and brilliant smile, greeting each of them. He was slightly surprised. These were all major state-owned enterprises, people with no shortage of money. The aunties also had shining eyes, smiling as they greeted him. Hello, Cole. One of them waved to her daughter. Hui, come here. Meet your big brother, Cole. The 17 or 18-year-old girl, Hui, looked shy and weakly said, Big brother Cole. Hey there. Cole looked particularly kind and fatherly. Ai, quick, call him Big brother Cole. Big brother Cole. Ai was probably not even 17, and much more lively. Tian. Say hi to your big brother Cole. Hi, big brother Cole. Tian was only 14 or 15 and looked very well behaved. Finally, the 6-year-old also called him Big Brother Cole. Cole maintained his benevolent smile, looking like he was about to whip out cash-filled envelopes at any moment. Let's go over there. Ignore Cole, Lin Fan said, acting like a big sister, waving towards Jasmine's group. Lin, have some respect. You should call him Big Brother Cole too. At the company, you call him Mr. Chun. Vanessa scolded with a frown, though she was sighing internally. Her own daughter was probably a lost cause. I'm not calling him that. He's just Cole. The big is a term of respect. Lin Fan didn't even look at her mom, retorting defiantly. Seeing Lin's casual attitude towards Cole, the other young girls were a little envious. Everyone at Rhythm Group was used to Lin. Only Cole received this special treatment. Airport staff led another group over. Professor Diaz had arrived, with several families in tow, old and young. Professor Diaz. Cole's smile was brilliant, but inside he was wailing. This was probably not going to be a romantic trip. It was a tour group of the old, the young, and the middle-aged. Cole. Professor Diaz was overjoyed. The other university leaders and professors also greeted Cole, enthusiastically introducing their families. They were all familiar faces, having met at various events before. Cole handled it with ease. As he was speaking, his gaze froze. He looked towards the entrance. Fiona had arrived, and next to her was a young man. He looked handsome at first glance. It was only up close that the details became clear. To put it nicely, he was meticulously groomed. To put it bluntly, he was a preening pretty boy. That was secondary. How one dressed was a personal choice. No one could say anything. But Wyatt and the other executives were a different story. After 2 years of experience, their judgment was sharp. They immediately noticed that the young man's gaze wasn't quite right. His eyes darted around. As for Jasmine and the other three, it went without saying. They were experts at reading people. They stood with their arms crossed, ignoring them. Vanessa glanced once and didn't look again, only noting Cole's reaction. The rhythm group executives looked at each other, but said nothing. Usually, they would have greeted Fiona, but this time they were all silent. This high-level team-building event had taken on a certain quality. The attendees were either people Cole was familiar with, like Professor Diaz's group, or like the girlfriend Wyatt and the others brought, who had all met Cole before. Or they were people who could be beneficial to Cole's circle, like the friends Vanessa brought, who all had a certain standing. Fiona didn't know what was wrong. How could she have overlooked this? Jenna and Whitney sighed internally. They were afraid they were about to lose an old friend. Director who? We were starting to think you weren't coming, Cole said with a smile. The rhythm group executives felt a seismic shock. He didn't call her Fifi. He didn't call her by her first name. He called her Director who? The boss was angry. No, the taxi was a little late. He lives a bit far away, Fiona said, a warning bell finally going off in her subconscious. An inexplicable anxiety began to creep in. But then her mind filled with images of the young man's passionate pursuit of her, a kind of clinginess she rather enjoyed. The two thoughts battled, neither gaining the upper hand, locked in a stalemate. She summoned her courage and made the introduction. Boss, this is Evan. Evan, you. Nice to meet you, Cole said, smiling. Fiona then looked at the young man. Evan, this is my boss. You could just call him Mr. Chun. Hello, Mr. Chun. Evan Yu quickly bowed and extended his hand, his attitude extremely humble and polite, with a touch of shyness. Inside, however, he was ecstatic. This is the famous Cole Chun, and I'm standing right in front of him. He's so young. He expertly concealed the jealousy in his heart. Hello. Cole's smile remained unchanged. He shook his hand briefly and let go. He showed no strange reaction whatsoever. Even Fiona started to relax. A bodyguard ran over. Mr. Chun, we can board now. All right, everyone on the plane. Auntie Vanessa, Professor Diaz. Cole went through the list, calling out every person who had been added later. This made the professors, university leaders, and the wealthy socialites feel particularly good. Evan Yu followed beside Fiona, his eyes full of curiosity, pretending to casually look left and right. So those are the 4 goddess guardians of headline today. They're gorgeous, even better than the descriptions online. And those younger ones aren't bad either. Wow. And those mature women are even better. Rich people really know how to take care of themselves. While talking to Fiona, Evan suppressed the excitement in his heart. As long as he could completely win over this woman, his life would fundamentally change. He pulled out a wad of cash from his wallet and whispered to Fiona, I have about $1,200 here. It should be enough for both our tickets. Even though your boss chartered the plane, we can't take advantage like that. I have some more in my bank account, so it should be enough for food and expenses. This sincere display of contribution moved Fiona deeply, silencing the warning bells in her subconscious. Evan, you hold on to it for now. We won't need it. If we're really short, I'll ask you for it, Fiona said. Of course, she wasn't short on money. She just wanted to protect the man's pride. That's not right. You have to take it, or I'll feel uneasy. Evan was secretly delighted, but he maintained a solemn expression. All right, I'll hold on to it for you, Fiona said, even more moved. She took the money and put it in her purse, planning to give it back to him after they returned. Walking slowly behind them, Cole watched them silently for a few moments. If Fiona had truly found her soulmate, he would have nothing to say. Unfortunately, his impression was not good, even terrible. This guy was too young, thinking he had hidden his intentions perfectly. But who here wasn't sharp-eyed? It was only Fiona who was lost in the fog. The eyes are the window to the soul. That has always been true. The strange way the man's eyes lingered on the girls had already displeased Cole. He just didn't have enough evidence to make a move yet. To get angry without cause would be unconvincing. The Airbus A320 soared into the sky, heading for Bangkok. There were 8 seats in first class, which were more comfortable. Cole insisted that Professor Diaz and the other older guests take them. He and everyone else sat in economy. The old professors and university leaders were incredibly touched. Vanessa and her friend were used to flying first class, but today they didn't mind. They had no objections to Cole's decision. Lin Fan, with the younger girls, chattered nonstop. Cole sat in a row with Wyatt and the others, talking about technology and competitors. The women sat together, discussing beauty treatments and healthy diets. Everyone had their own topics. Only Fiona and Evan Yu found their own seats, talking amongst themselves. The flight attendants moved back and forth, taking care of the plane full of VIPs. The nearly 4-hour flight passed quietly in conversation. Koh Samui, Thailand, has an international airport owned by Bangkok Airways, which was very convenient. They landed at 2 in the afternoon. 2 large buses from the hotel were already waiting outside the airport. Besides the drivers, Sasha and Officer Riley were also there. The entire security team that had followed them consisted of 12 people, with a female-to-male ratio of 3-to-1. They had already completed all the necessary procedures for security, including legally carrying firearms. The guns were rented through proper channels, small caliber, with ammunition billed separately. If they were actually used, a certain amount for wear and tear would be deducted from the deposit. Each person had 1 handgun and 1 long gun. They had to be returned at the end of the trip. The resort was located by the mountains and the sea. The villas were all built on a hillside. Though called a hillside, they were actually very close to sea level. Below the villas was the beach. There were villas of all sizes. The small ones were just right for a family of 4 or 2 adults. The medium ones could accommodate 7 or 8 adults plus children. The large ones could fit 15 adults plus children. Cole naturally stayed in the largest one. He had a lot of people. His 3 babies, Yvonne, Jenna, Whitney, Lin Fan, and Amy Huang. The large villa came with a private assistant, all girls. Real girls. Service staff led everyone to their assigned villas. Regardless of the size, each villa had a private pool with an unobstructed view of the sea. You could soak in the water and enjoy the ocean view. Trees on the left, right, and back provided excellent privacy. Sasha left 3 people at Cole's villa. Officer Riley left 3 at Vanessa's villa. The others were dispersed, with a rotating patrol schedule. Groceries were uniformly purchased by the security team, and a chef would be randomly hired to cook. If only one chef was available for hire, they would pass and cook themselves. This protocol only applied to Cole's villa. If someone were to make a move, it would only be against him. Targeting others would be meaningless. Although they were within the hotel's protected area, they still had to be careful. Cole never relied on luck. Making thorough preparations was a must, even if they ended up not being needed, and even if it made people think he was afraid of dying. The most awkward person at this moment was Fiona. Her and her +1 required an extra small villa. Wyatt and the others were all in pairs, so it was impossible for Evan Yu to join them. And Fiona herself had originally been assigned to the boss's villa. But bringing Evan Yu meant she couldn't possibly enter the boss's residence. The moment he stepped into the small villa, Evan Yu ran to the edge of the pool, his face ecstatic. He looked at the sea, then at Fiona. "Fifi, it's so beautiful here. I can't wait to take a walk on the beach with you." He wanted to take Fiona's hand, but held back. A non-gentlemanly and clingy approach wouldn't win her heart. It was precisely this attitude that had allowed him to get close to Fiona in the first place. If all went well, he might very well be able to completely conquer her tonight. No, he had to conquer her tonight. He couldn't let the beautiful scenery of this seaside villa go to waste. At this thought, the excitement in his heart almost burst from his chest. Okay, Fiona managed a weak smile. She didn't want to stay here. She wanted to be in Cole's orbit. Throughout the entire journey, even she, in her distraction, had sensed something was off. Now, being so far from Cole's villa, she felt an inexplicable sense of unease. Last fall, during the company trip, she had stayed with him. There had been an unparalleled feeling of closeness, of trust. But now, she felt as if she'd been cast out of the inner circle. No one had even invited her over to the main villa to hang out for a bit. A feeling called panic began to sprout in her heart. "Fiona, what's wrong? Are you feeling sick from the long flight?" Evan Yu noticed her mood and spoke in a gentle, caring voice. He naturally reached out to touch her forehead. Fiona pulled her head back, dodging his hand. A sudden, baseless irritation surged through her. All at once, she found Evan not handsome at all, just annoying and pushy. "I'm fine, just thinking about work." A strange look flickered in Evan's eyes, but he only deepened his affectionate tone. "Did I say something wrong? If I did, I apologize. I just don't want to see you looking so worried." Fiona's mind was a chaotic mess, her gaze vacant. She replayed the entire trip in her head, thinking about what Jenna and Whitney had said. The more she thought, the more terrified she became. It felt like the end of the world, and she was the only one left. Evan tried again, his voice dripping with consideration. "If you're not comfortable here, you should go over there. I'll be fine on my own. If I really miss you, I'll just come over and call for you." "Director who?" "Mr. Chun is looking for you. A female bodyguard appeared on the path leading from the villa. She delivered the message and immediately turned to leave. What? Oh, okay, I'm coming right now. Fiona snapped back to reality. Without another word to Evan, she hurried after the bodyguard. Fiona. Evan was completely baffled. What was wrong with her? She had been perfectly fine just a moment ago, but he didn't dare follow. At that moment, Cole was sitting on the living room sofa. The room opened onto a veranda, beyond which lay a crystal-clear swimming pool. Below the pool was a pristine, fine-sanded beach. A sea breeze rustled the coconut palms, and the sun made the ocean's surface glitter. The girls were exploring the villa, while he was reading an email for the second time. The background check on Evan had arrived. It hadn't been hard to dig up, nor had it taken much time. Maybe not 3 minutes, but 4 or 5 hours had been more than enough. The man in charge of the intel was the chairman of the freelance services company, the same buzzcut thug who'd once tried to shake down the tea alchemist. Now, he was one of Cole's loyal hounds. Seeing Evan use meticulously styled hair and flawless makeup, Cole had figured he was the type to frequent certain nightlife spots. Asking his guy was the right move. In this era, it wasn't common for men to wear makeup. Sure enough, the report confirmed Cole's suspicions, and then some. The man was a professional gigolo. So professional, in fact, that he'd never held another job. His main role was playing the part of a sensitive soulmate, with the occasional guest appearance as a gay best friend. He also frequently did particularly disgusting things for money. Cole had no idea how he'd set his sights on Fiona, but he'd even scraped together some cash with a few of his broke friends to fund the pursuit. Just as he was thinking of Fiona, she arrived. Mr. Chun, the vice president of Headline Today, walked in through the main door. She stood by the coffee table, hands clasped nervously over her stomach, a lost look on her face. Sit. Cole gestured coolly to the sofa next to him. Fiona sat down, her heart pounding. The vague sense of unease was tangling her thoughts into knots. Cole had never treated her with such cold indifference. This was the first time. As the other girls passed through the living room, they all pretended not to see her, heading out to the yard to look at the pool. Even Lin Fan ignored her. This made Fiona's heart feel like it was about to leap out of her throat. This was bad. What on earth was going on? Cole took a deep breath and let out heavily. You're one of my original team members. And even if you weren't, your personal life isn't my business. But unfortunately, this happened during a management team building event. And on the other hand, it's fortunate. If I hadn't seen it, this could have caused some real trouble down the line. Fiona lowered her head slightly, still not quite understanding. She could only listen in silence. She thought he would explain the reason, but instead, he asked her a question. You choose. Between me and him. You can only pick one. What? Fiona looked up, stunned. Then it dawned on her what he meant. The me didn't just mean him personally. It represented Headline Today. A smile touched Cole's lips, but it held no warmth. You heard me. You can only pick one. If you choose him, you go back to that other villa. He was disappointed in her. A person with poor judgment couldn't be trusted with great responsibility, especially not a high-level corporate position. Who knew how many foolish decisions she'd make in the future, how many useless people she'd bring into the company. It wouldn't matter if she were a junior employee, but she wasn't. If she chose to go back to the other villa, he wouldn't fire her immediately. He'd wait for her to make a mistake, then bring her down in one fell swoop and reclaim her shares. It wasn't that he was ruthless. The leader of the pack couldn't afford to be merciful. The Headline Today ecosystem was growing rapidly. He couldn't allow any internal accidents. He would rather be a laughingstock than be lenient. But if Fiona chose him without hesitation, he could still lend her a hand. Let this be a lesson. Nobody was perfect. Everyone deserved a second chance. Cole slipped back into his dispassionate state. He watched as Fiona, with almost no hesitation, cried out, You, I choose you. She scrambled over to sit next to him, lightly punching his knee, her face a mask of misery. Boss, don't be like this. I'm so scared. She looked out at the veranda, on the verge of tears. Can someone please save me? The 4 VPs just watched her quietly. Even Whitney merely shrugged, as if to say there was nothing she could do. Lin Fan's gaze was full of pity. She might have been a troublemaker, but she wasn't stupid. Her mother had even secretly texted her a reminder. If Cole got angry, she was not to play the hero. The other girls, finished admiring the pool, were already rushing back to their rooms to change into swimsuits. You've chosen me, right? Not changing your mind. The coldness in Cole's eyes began to fade. No hesitation. She was salvageable. I'm not changing my mind. Of course I choose you. Fiona finally burst into tears. But she knew in her heart that her boss wouldn't do something so dramatic for no reason. There had to be something she didn't know. All right, Here, take a look at this. And don't get the floor dirty. Cole opened the email and placed his phone in Fiona's hands. Fiona wiped her tears away and, sniffling, began to read. As she read, she forgot to even cry. Her entire body went rigid. Cole's voice was chillingly calm. Your sensitive suitor has a penchant for drinking the bladder excretions of old women. In the future, when you two kiss, wouldn't that be like you're sharing a drink? Gag. Fiona's stomach lurched, and she threw up a mouthful of sour bile right there. To think that all this time, a rotten gigolo had been circling her, and she, like an idiot, had thought true love had arrived, moved beyond words. How stupid could she be? His good buddies told us this themselves. You don't think I made it up, do you? Cole pulled a few tissues from the box and disdainfully covered the acid on the coffee table. No. Fiona was in a daze. She squeezed her eyes shut and started hitting her own head. I should just die. You're already dead. Died of stupidity. Go upstairs, find a room, and reflect on your actions. Cole tossed out the words, stood up, and walked to the edge of the pool. He stripped down to his swim trunks and slid into the water. Leaning against the edge, he stared out at the distant sea. A few moments later, he heard the soft patter of footsteps. He turned his head. All he saw was a sea of pale, long legs. Only Jenna was a bit shorter. This time, there were no traditional one-piece swimsuits. It was bikinis, all of them, with round bottoms on full display. Lin Fan let out a whoop and jumped into the pool, sending a huge splash into the air. Jasmine swam to her brother's side. Calm down, she said softly, leaning over to massage his temples. Serena swam to his other side and started kneading his shoulder. Yvonne swam up and took the other shoulder. Luna couldn't find a spot, but she wasn't upset. She'd eaten too well the other night and still hadn't recovered. She stood off to the side with Jenna, discussing Slice Video's financials. Cole was so comfortable he felt like his soul was about to float out of his skull. Damn, he thought shamelessly, what kind of divine life is this? It's almost embarrassing. Just then, Vanessa Fan's voice came from the living room. Cole, Jasmine, your pool is bigger. We're coming over to play. He saw Vanessa and her friends, all wearing one-piece swimsuits, strolling over with their pale thighs on display. Andy Ness, come on in. The more the merrier, Cole said, trying his best not to let his eyes wander. The situation was already getting awkward. Now it was even more so. Jasmine smiled and greeted them, then gave Cole a sharp smack under the water. And, just like that, the spacious pool was filled with women, big and small, young and old. With Vanessa and her group of mature, beautiful friends in a mix, not to mention a few girls who weren't even 18 yet, all of them scantily clad, Cole felt completely out of place. He was too embarrassed to continue enjoying his VP's massages. After saying hello, he dutifully swam to a narrow corner of the pool, leaving the wide-open space for the women's social hour. Jasmine's gaze softened. Her brother still knew how to behave. Serena, Luna, and Yvonne all had looks of satisfaction in their eyes. Vanessa glanced over quickly, sighing inwardly again. This kid, despite his lecherous nature, had a good sense of propriety. If only he were in his 30s. A pity he was so young. And a pity her Lynn wasn't growing up any faster. What woman didn't dream of love? Alas, I was born too soon for you, she mused. The men who might have caught her eye in her youth were now all greasy old geezers. Plenty of others had tried to make a move over the years, but she was too proud, too picky. She despised the type who acted righteous in public, but were debauched in private. And so, her most radiant years had been spent in solitude. This kid was the most charismatic man she'd ever met. Despite his flock of girlfriends, she couldn't bring herself to feel any real disapproval. She even found herself wishing Lynn would join them, to secure a good future for herself. The thought was so bizarre, so contrary to her own values, that it startled her. The older women immediately surrounded Luna, asking her the secret to her generous figure. Beauty was, and always would be, a woman's favorite topic, followed closely by men. Luna, your shape is just perfect, one of the mothers, Mrs. Lee, said with envy. Oh, just call me Luna, she said, blushing. Another friend, Mrs. Fong, poked her playfully, leaving a momentary dimple that sprang right back. Mrs. Fong let out an appreciative sound. Wow, the real thing feels so much better. If I'd had a figure like yours back in the day, I'd have driven the men wild. She glanced toward Cole, about to shout something, but caught herself. It's natural talent. 1 in 100, another mother exclaimed. Luna has a very healthy lifestyle and eats natural foods, Vanessa added, familiar with Luna's habits but still curious. What woman didn't want to be a little bigger? Not for a man, but for her own sense of beauty. She was fine, but she couldn't compare to Luna. They peppered Luna with questions about her diet, even asking what she ate after meals. When Luna mentioned she practiced dance and yoga with Jasmine, the group immediately swarmed Jasmine, asking for tips on flexibility. In terms of overall physique, Jasmine was perfection. Not an ounce of fat on her stomach, but not hard and muscular like a man. No flab on her upper arms. Flawlessly beautiful. A living mannequin. It's a shame you're not a model, Mrs. Lee praised. Oh, she models. At night, Mrs. Fong said with a smirk. The mature women glanced at Cole and burst into laughter. Jasmine didn't seem embarrassed at all. You all have great figures too, she said gracefully. As long as you avoid late-night snacks and drink water on an empty stomach in the morning, you can maintain it. It was true. She often modeled for him at night. Stockings, lingerie, sheer fabrics. Whatever that bastard asked for, she'd complain, but she'd always deliver. She would indulge her brothers every whim. Drinking water in the morning is easy, but no late-night snacks? That's hard. I get so hungry, another mom, Mrs. Ma, said with a pout. Of course you get hungry. You're all alone at. Mrs. Fong stopped, glanced at the younger girls, and quickly changed her tune. Eating something light is fine, like, zucchini or a cucumber to cleanse the system. Oh, I bet you eat those all the time, Fong. Mrs. Lee said, slapping her arm playfully. You have to eat, or you'll starve. Mrs. Fong howled with laughter. The older women's conversation grew more and more risque, though coded in innuendos the younger girls either didn't understand or pretended not to. They splashed away to the other side of the pool. Cole stayed quietly in his corner. He definitely couldn't join that conversation. He just pretended not to hear. Sasha walked over and crouched down. I had him escorted from the hotel. I also have the security footage of his departure. Good. You should get in the water and relax, too. Nothing else to do tonight, Cole nodded. He'd had his bodyguards invite Avenue to leave the resort. The extra villa could be used by the security team. I'll swim later tonight. I don't want to scare the kids, Sasha said. Her body was covered in scars, and she wanted to avoid the inevitable questions. After she left, Cole stared into the distance, his gaze darkening again. Letting the guy go was the greatest mercy he could offer. This was Thailand. Turning someone into a performer in some cabaret show was practically a local pastime. The disappearance of nobody would go unnoticed. But he'd suppressed the thought, not out of softness, but because the cost-benefit analysis didn't add up. The man was insignificant. Whether he made it home or not was up to his own luck. Headline today was on a steady, rapid rise. It might seem like they had no enemies, but in reality, enemies were everywhere, just waiting for an opportunity to strike. Their smiles might be full of poison. Upstairs, Fiona had been crying for a while, weeping for her own stupidity. She thought she'd become more discerning, but she'd nearly fallen for the oldest trick in the book. The memory of her attraction, now, just made her sick. Her phone had rung several times. She'd hung up and then blocked the number. She'd change her number as soon as she was back in the States. After crying her eyes out, she felt a strange sense of relief. She crept out to her balcony and crouched down, peeking at the sea view, trying not to be seen by Cole. She was too ashamed. In the pool, Cole noticed a head popping up and down from a second-floor balcony. He felt a mix of anger and amusement. The next time the head appeared, he beckoned with his hand, pointing to the pool. If you want to come down, come down. Fiona's head vanished. A moment later, she came running down in a bikini and dove into the water. When she surfaced, Jenna swam over and patted her shoulder comfortingly. At dusk, after a satisfying meal of curry crab and shrimp, the group changed into beautiful dresses and went down to the beach to watch the sunset. The sand was fine and soft under their bare feet. The entire company was out, taking photos, playing in the waves, and building sandcastles. Professor Diaz and her cohort were in full photo shoot mode, dramatically waving silk scarves for the camera, taking endless pictures until they got the perfect shot. Cole watched them, chuckling to himself. When the professor glanced his way, he gave her a big thumbs up. Wow, that's a great one. Very elegant. Standing beside him was Serena. Today was her day, so for this brief time, Cole was all hers. It was an unspoken rule of their little committee. But even with the rule, she could feel the occasional gaze of the other 3 VPs. Plus, they were surrounded by people. So, they couldn't even hold hands. They'd have to wait until they were alone for that. The two of them walked separately, moving a little distance away from the main group. Cole, this is the second time we've watched the sea together, Serena said, her eyes shifting from his profile to the setting sun, which was halfway below the horizon. The orange light bathed her face, and the sea breeze rustled the hem of her floral dress. Babe, let's come out and see the ocean every year, okay? Cole said softly, reaching out to brush a stray piece of hair from her forehead. Serena turned to him, a brilliant smile spreading across her face. Okay, and we have to see the mountains and the desert and the snowy peaks. Yep, mountains, desert, and the peaks. We definitely have to see the peaks, Cole grinned. Watching the sunrise from a mountain must be beautiful, and I want to ride a camel in the desert. For the peaks. Should we see the Rockies or go all the way to Everest? Serena tilted her head, her eyes full of anticipation. We'll see them all, Cole said, his gaze distant, a sly smile playing on his lips. Okay. Serena agreed happily. Then a memory of something naughty he'd once done flashed in her mind, and she instantly understood his double meaning. Her cheeks flushed. She lifted her bare foot and stomped firmly on his. You're awful, she scolded playfully. Your mind is always in the gutter. You've got me all wrong. Cole yelped, hopping back with an exaggerated look of pain. I was talking about snowy peaks. What were you thinking about? I was talking about peaks too. Peaks of ice and snow. In the glow of the sunset, Serena's face was beet red. What other kind of peaks could there be? Cole feigned confusion, then pointed at her with a look of dawning realization. Oh, someone has a dirty mind and is blaming me for it. Who has a dirty mind? I'm gonna get you. Serena swung a playful fist at him, but he dodged. Cole darted away, teasing her. I was talking about real mountains. It's not my fault you thought of something else. Cole, I'm going to get you. Serena chased after him, her hand raised. He ran. She chased. Their footprints trailed across the sand until the faces of the group were just a blur in the distance. They were still within the perimeter of the bodyguards, two of whom were strolling casually further down the beach, pretending to be tourists. It was the only reason Cole felt safe enough to run this far. Serena finally caught up to him and gave him a few light punches. Then she stood on his feet, wrapped her arms around his neck, and looked at him with sparkling eyes. Cole, we're so far away now. I want a kiss. You read my mind. We're so in sync, babe. Cole leaned in, inhaling her scent. It was intoxicating. He didn't kiss her right away. He nuzzled one cheek, then the other, his lips hovering just a hair's breadth from hers as he moved past. Their noses touched, and the sea breeze couldn't dissipate the warmth of their breath. Cole, Serena whispered, his face reflected in her eyes. She shifted her head, trying to capture his lips, but he kept slipping away. The air he breathed out was like a catalyst, making her adrenaline surge. A deep yearning coursed through her blood. She tried to intercept his mouth, her voice a desperate, soft plea. Cole, I want a kiss. He still didn't respond, his eyes burning with a hot light as he continued to brush against her flushed cheeks. Finally, Serena couldn't take it anymore. She grabbed his face with both hands and kissed him. The moment their lips met, she let out a satisfied hum, pouring all her love into the kiss. Cole cradled the back of her head and neck, responding with equal passion. From a distance, they just looked like two people embracing, their kiss hidden from view. They were lost in the moment. Far away, Jasmine kept glancing in her brother's direction, a small pang of jealousy in her heart. No matter how much she accepted the situation, it still stung. She tried to focus on the sand, stomping little pits into it with her feet. Jasmine, let's build a castle, too, Yvonne suggested, trying to distract her. Having run interference many times, she was used to it and didn't feel jealous herself, but she understood Jasmine's feelings. Lynn and the younger girls were already busy building a sand fortress nearby. Luna looked on wistfully. Yeah, let's do it. I've never built one before, she chimed in, also sensing Jasmine's mood. Jasmine wasn't one to spoil the fun, so she agreed. The three of them crouched in the sand and if you are. As he spoke, he reached down and stroked her calves under the water. Maybe it was from a childhood of walking mountain paths, or maybe it was because they had more to support, but her legs were a little more solid than Jasmine's or Serena's. The muscle was firm and tight with a powerful, athletic line. Not all. I have strong hands. I used to have to cut pig feed and chop firewood when I was little, Luna said, her hands moving down to gently push and knead his chest muscles. Up in the mountains? Cole was curious. Yeah, my old home is right up against a mountain. There was grass everywhere. Sometimes we'd use sweet potato leaves to feed the pigs, and we'd chop down trees and let the wood dry for the winter. When we butchered a pig, we'd smoke the meat over pine branches to make it taste better. As she spoke, an image of her mother and brother flashed in her mind, but it didn't hurt anymore. She was just reminiscing about the days before she was 9, when her father was still alive. Sometime soon, I'll go with you to visit your old school, Cole said, patting her leg. Luna's eyes lit up. Really, brother? She desperately wanted to go back and see her old principal and homeroom teacher. If it weren't for them, she wouldn't be here today. She tried to send them money, but they refused to give her their bank information, just telling her to live a good life. They had no idea about her real situation, thinking she just had a good job. Of course it's real. We repay our debts. They took care of you, which means I owe them. I have to pay them back. Luna's happy smile faltered, her lips trembling as her eyes welled up with tears. She forced them back, not wanting to cry in front of everyone. But his words had warmed her to her core. Her brother was a lecher, it was true, but he was also kind and responsible. There was no better man in the world. She wished she could have 2 of his children right now and take them with her on the visit. That would be perfect. A little later, at 11 o'clock, the girls started heading back to their rooms. Jasmine, Luna, and Yvonne took a large bedroom on the 2nd floor, implicitly leaving Serena in the master suite. Later that night, blindly trusting the soundproof walls, Cole and Serena played and wrestled. Despite the sound of the waves, their muffled but distinct noises carried. Upstairs, some girls covered their ears, some buried their heads under pillows, and some listened with wide eyes, trying to stifle their laughter. In another room, Jasmine listened with a growing sense of frustration. So energetic, are we? Fine. Just you wait, you bastard. And Serena, yelling like that. Only 2 people were unaffected. Luna and Yvonne were fast asleep. On the 1st floor, Sasha Gua and the other bodyguards showed no reaction, the picture of professionalism, until a final, triumphant cry echoed through the house. The 2 women's faces turned red, and they finally broke, bursting into muffled laughter. It was just too much to hold in. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the bedroom. A refreshed and energetic Cole got up first. He went downstairs and greeted the girls with a brilliant smile. Morning. Sleep well. It was okay, Fiona said, trying to hide the dark circles under her eyes. Well, like hell. Lynn Fan grumbled, rolling her eyes. I'm not sleeping here tonight. Morning. Ha ha. Whitney tried to hold it in, but she couldn't. She burst out laughing, tears streaming down her face. Oh my God, my stomach. It hurts from laughing. What's so funny? Cole asked, completely bewildered. Boss. Fiona started, then hesitated. Just say it. Okay, I'll say it. Fiona rubbed her eyes. The walls aren't soundproof. Not at all. She blurted it out and then scampered away to the veranda, afraid he'd take his embarrassment out on her. Cole froze for 2 seconds. Then, his face turned bright red. He spun around and fled back to the bedroom. Oof, my stomach suddenly feels a little weird. Ha ha. Whitney was slapping her thigh. Boss, your victory cry was so ugly. Cole slammed the door, sweating. Not soundproof. They heard everything. Crap. Serena doesn't hold back. Cole, what time is it? Serena yawned from the bed. He walked over to her. Babe, I have to tell you something. What is it? Come here and hug me. It's just. Cole climbed onto the bed and held her, deciding it was better to tell her now. They said, the walls aren't soundproof at all. Huh. Serena was still half asleep, and her eyes shot wide open. Huh. Her face turned crimson, and she let out a shriek, burying her head in his chest. I'm so mortified. She refused to leave the room for breakfast. A sheepish Cole had to bring it to her. It wasn't until everyone was ready to leave for the yacht that Serena finally emerged, walking in tiny, shuffling steps, her face hidden, the tips of her ears still bright red. The entire group gathered at the marina. The hotel had arranged for their largest yacht, just big enough for 60 people. As requested, they had replaced the male captain and crew with an all-female team. After sailing out a few miles, they came across another, slightly smaller, yacht where several couples were taking wedding photos. Noticing everyone's attention was drawn to it, Cole had their yacht slow down. A moment later, he saw Serena and the others coming down from the 3rd deck, but Jasmine was nowhere to be seen. Cole excused himself from his conversation with the professors and headed up. Jasmine was leaning against the railing, staring blankly at the other yacht. The wind pressed her white A-line dress against her long legs. Sis, Cole called out softly as he approached, not wanting to startle her. Jasmine turned, a bright smile appearing on her face before she turned back to the other boat. I'm fine. Just wanted to watch for a bit. A wave of warmth spread through her. Her brother, as expected, had come up because he was worried about her. This silent understanding made her feel incredibly secure. Cole leaned against the railing beside her. The brides on the other yacht were in full wedding gowns, their grooms sweltering in suits under the hot sun. It was a romantic sight. Down below, Wyatt and the other guys were being pulled aside by their girlfriends, already discussing where they should take their own wedding photos. Cole turned and looked at his sister. Her beautiful eyes were full of a longing and wistful sadness she couldn't quite hide. Sensing his gaze, she turned, gave him a warm smile, and then looked away. "What is it, Cole?" "Sis." Cole put his arm around her slender shoulders, and she leaned into him naturally. He kissed her smooth cheek. "You would be so beautiful in a wedding dress." "You think so?" "I've never worn one," she said, a flash of wistfulness in her eyes. She quickly hid it, turning back to him and kissing his lips lightly. "It's too much trouble anyway. I look good in other things too." What girl didn't dream of wearing a wedding dress? But could she? No. It was a regret, but compared to everything else, it was a small one. Her shifting emotions didn't escape him. He gently caressed her cheek, his eyes full of love. "Sis, after we graduate, let's take them. I want to see you in a wedding dress, holding my hand." "Cole, it's fine, really. We don't have to." Jasmine patted his cheek, her eyes soft and relieved. Just him saying it was enough. Objection overruled. "I said we're doing it, so we're doing it," Cole said forcefully, holding her face in his hands, his gaze unwavering. "You're so bossy," Jasmine said, feigning annoyance as she pinched his side, but her heart was overflowing with happiness. They stared at each other, their love deeper than the sea below them. Behind them, hidden behind the cockpit, a camera lens appeared, snapped a few silent photos, and then disappeared. It was held by one of the teenagers from Vanessa's group. She had come up to take pictures and had frozen when she saw Cole in Jasmine's intimate moment. Cole saw the camera out of the corner of his eye, but paid it no mind. His lips found Jasmine's. The kiss was natural, inevitable. Soon, word that two people were making out on the top deck spread among the younger crowd, and little heads kept popping up from the stairwell to peek and giggle. After a long time, their lips parted. As Cole was about to speak, Jasmine leaned in again, gently kissing away the moisture from the corner of his mouth. Her words were a soft whisper against his lips. "Cole, if we're going to do it, let's do it for all of them." Her thoughtfulness left Cole stunned for a second. Then he pulled her into a tight embrace, burying his face in the crook of her neck, inhaling her unique scent. He was overwhelmed with a feeling he couldn't name, a profound gratitude that filled every corner of his heart. Having her blessing would make everything harmonious. As if on cue, no one else came up to disturb them. She linked her arm through his, and they stood together, a single silhouette against the sky, watching the sea. The yacht sailed to another, smaller island, where the group spent the afternoon snorkeling, riding jet skis, and playing in the water. That evening, after dinner, they stayed on the island to watch a cabaret show. The performers, mostly young lady boys, were graceful and alluring, their bodies transformed by years of hormones. Cole knew, however, that the life of a performer was often short and difficult, a fact that cast a shadow over the dazzling performance. The next act was something different, something cruder. Seeing it, Cole immediately led his group away. It was one thing for the adults, but he wouldn't let the younger members of his team be exposed to that kind of display. It would tarnish the joyful feeling of the trip. On the way back to the villa, the women were still discussing the show, their moods a mix of fascination and sympathy. As soon as they returned, Cole escaped into the pool. If it wouldn't have been antisocial, he could have spent the entire trip in the water. The girls, tired from the day, showered and then gathered in the yard to chat under the stars. Someone started playfully demanding that Jasmine dance for them. Lynn Fan, who had sworn she wouldn't sleep at the villa again, even texted her mother and friends to come over and watch. Pressured by the crowd, Jasmine relented. She changed into a costume, a stunning, translucent light green Hanfu-style gown that hinted at the lingerie beneath. The only man present was in the pool, so she wasn't concerned. Luna queued up the music Jasmine had chosen. The song began with a melancholic guitar melody. It was To Build a Home by the Cinematic Orchestra. Jasmine began to move, her bare feet gliding across the patio. Her dance was a story of heartache and longing, her arms reaching for something that wasn't there, her body twisting in a display of sorrow and hope. The women watched, captivated, but no one was more captivated than Cole. His eyes were locked on her, the graceful figure and the haunting lyrics merging with a memory from his past life. The sky is waiting for the rain, and I am waiting for you. The song in his memory was different, but the feeling was the same. It's like a hazy dream a lifetime ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. He remembered the phone call from his mother, her voice choked with tears, telling him the terrible news. Your sister is gone. The words had struck him like a bolt of lightning, leaving him paralyzed, his soul ripped from his body. He dropped his phone and stood there on the university field like a hollow puppet. Memories of her kindness, her indulgence, her love flooded his mind, then shattered into a million sharp pieces that pierced his heart. He had been a fool, so easily distracted by another woman, so quick to push his sister away. How disappointed she must have been. How much pain she must have been in. He had cried then, a raw, desperate howl of regret. You don't know what you have until it's gone. Now the song ended, and Jasmine sank to the ground, curled into a ball as the final notes faded. The yard erupted in applause. Jasmine, you're a true artist. Vanessa praised, clapping enthusiastically. That was incredible. You told a whole story. The girls all chimed in with their own exclamations of awe. Thank you, Jasmine said, rising gracefully. She glanced toward the pool and saw her brother sinking into the water, his face half submerged. But she could see his eyes. They were red, as if he'd been crying. Her heart skipped a beat. She kept her expression calm and smiled. Cole, how was it? Did you like my dance? Blub, 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 went Cole from under the water. He didn't dare lift his face, terrified he would lose control and cry in front of everyone. That would be a serious blow to his image. The others noticed his strange silence. Luna started to move toward the pool, a worried look on her face, but Jasmine was already getting in, her green silk gown floating around her. She swam to him. Up close, she could see his eyes were definitely red. What's wrong, Cole? She asked softly, trying to lift his head, but he resisted. He just stared at her, his gaze so intense it felt like he was trying to burn her image into his soul. Cole, did I pick the wrong song? She asked, her voice full of apology. I didn't mean to upset you. I just thought it was beautiful. He knew he had to say something. He surfaced, forcing a wicked grin onto his face. Huh, I got you, sis. I just wanted to see you in a wet hanfu. And look, it worked. His face was dripping, and he didn't dare wipe it, afraid the tears would spill over. His smile was wide, but his lips trembled slightly. The deep pain of that memory hadn't faded. You and your tricks, Jasmine chided, splashing him playfully, though her eyes held a flicker of understanding. The other girls, sensing the shift, joined them in the water, their playful splashing and chatter successfully breaking the tension. Serena pretended to be learning how to tread water, flailing around like a drowning bird until Cole laughed out loud. Yvonne came and massaged his head from the poolside. He was surrounded by them, their clever, unspoken support a balm on his wounded soul. He took Jasmine's hand, then Luna's, then ruffled Serena's wet hair. A new, fierce determination rose within him. For them, for all of them, he had to be stronger. Later that night, in the master bedroom, the two of them lay in the quiet darkness, listening to the waves. Jasmine was nestled against his chest, her head pillowed on his arm. Cole, she said after a long silence, why were you crying tonight? Huh, I wasn't crying. I saw you. He was silent for a moment, then sighed, surrendering. Yeah, I cried. She didn't ask why. Instead, she shifted, gently moving him so that his head was resting on her arm, and she was the one holding him. Why? She asked, stroking his back. It reminded me of a movie I saw once. The story was just like your dance. The lie was weak, but it was the only one he had. Oh, she asked, a strange light in her eyes. If I were her, the one in the movie, would you be heartbroken? Yes, he said, his voice thick with emotion. A million times heartbroken. A million times full of regret. A million times in pain. A small, knowing smile touched her lips, full of relief and a deep, quiet satisfaction. You don't need to regret anything, she whispered. Don't be in pain. We'll just live well and cherish every day. I know, sis. He buried his face in her chest, holding her tight. Her scent was so familiar, so comforting, a memory from a lifetime of being cared for by her. Sis, you're a grown man. Behaving like this again, she scolded, pinching his arm. But her tone was soft, and she didn't pull away, letting him find the comfort he so desperately needed. The next morning, Jasmine was radiant, her skin glowing with a vitality that only came from being thoroughly satisfied. She was already by the pool, doing her morning stretches. Cole was still in bed, trying to calm the lingering energy in his body. He'd been restricted to his quota again. The girls had a strict rule. They could have as much as they wanted, but he was only allowed to finish once per night. It was a measure to ensure he didn't overexert himself and that they didn't exhaust their bodies. Even Luna, the most obedient of them all, never broke this rule. Fiona came downstairs yawning. She sat on the floor and tried to stretch, but her muscles screamed in protest. You have to keep your back straight, Jasmine instructed from her perfect split. It's not about how far you go. Just breathe. You can still build flexibility. Once you get older, it's much harder. I'm so envious of your body, Jasmine, Fiona said, sighing. If only I had your discipline. The other girls trickled downstairs, all dressed in summery clothes. They joined Jasmine in her workout or went to the small gym off the living room for a run. Today's activity was a trip into the island's interior to see a waterfall. The hotel had arranged for a unique mode of transport, a train of 20 elephants, each with a mahout, or elephant trainer. The women and older members of the group rode, while Cole and the younger men walked alongside. The elephants were gentle, their docility a product of long training. Cole's internal monologue was cynical. He knew the animal rights activists on the internet decried this sort of tourism, but their compassion rarely extended to funding an alternative for the mahouts who depended on the elephants for their livelihood. It was easy to have principles when someone else paid the price. Still, he was a good tourist. He bought all the bananas the mahouts were selling and passed them out to the girls to feed to the elephants, earning happy grins from both the trainers and the animals. As they made their way up the trail, Yvonne's phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number from back in the States. She ignored it. It rang again, this time from a mobile number from the same city. She answered. Hello. Hello, is this Ms. Yvonne Wong? A man's voice asked. This is she. Who is this? Ms. Wong. My name is Gregwin. I'm the CEO of Gatherly. I was hoping to speak with you about something, if you have a moment. Yvonne vaguely recognized the name. Mr. Well, hello. I'm actually on vacation in Thailand right now. If it's not urgent, could we speak when I'm back in the office? It is a little bit urgent, he said. Forgive me for asking, but is Mr. Chin with you? Yes, he is. How long will you be there? If it's for a while, I'd like to fly out immediately to meet with you. It won't take long, half an hour of your time at most. There was a note of desperate excitement in his voice. Yvonne was taken aback. Mr. Well, let me ask Mr. Chun. If he agrees, I'll message you back. Of course. I'll wait for your message. After she hung up, Yvonne glanced back, but Cole was at the rear of the procession, too far away to shout to. She would have to wait. Half an hour later, the elephants reached a resting point at the base of the mountain. After everyone dismounted, Yvonne found Cole. A man named Greg just called. He said he's the CEO of a company called Gatherly. He wants to fly out here to meet with you. Immediately. Here? Cole asked, surprised. Yes. Let me think. Gatherly. Greg won. Oh, I remember him. Sure. Tell him if he doesn't mind the trouble, he can come. Cole recalled the man. He was a flamboyant marketer who had once tried to launch a massive e-commerce site that had flamed out in just 3 months after a public falling out with his investors. He was famous for his insane publicity stunts. Hadn't he tried a live stream from inside a hurricane or something? This could be interesting. Yvonne sent the message. The reply came almost instantly. Booking my ticket now. She relayed this to Cole and then fell in a step beside him as the group began their hike up the winding mountain path. Today was her day with him. The mountain air was cool and refreshing. They crossed babbling streams and passed by troops of monkeys who, unlike their notoriously aggressive cousins at some other tourist traps, were quite civilized. The guide explained they even helped the locals harvest coconuts. Later, they reached the waterfall. A few foreign tourists were swimming in the pool at its base. Lynn pointed out a blonde woman she swore was a French actress. Cole squinted. Nice figure, but a closer look revealed a surprising amount of body hair that rather spoiled the effect. He tried to glance back for a second look, but he felt the combined laser gaze of his 4 VPs and quickly pretended to be admiring the clarity of the water. Cole, if you don't give me a raise, I'm telling Jasmine you were staring, Lynn whispered, sidling up to him. I was not. I was appreciating the pristine natural beauty. Raise. Now, fine. A $200 raise to your base salary. I'm telling. After a day of hiking and sightseeing, the group returned to the villa, exhausted but happy. The girls were so tired, they skipped their evening swim and were all headed for bed by 9. Jasmine, Serena, and Luna tactfully went to their shared room upstairs, leaving a secretly thrilled Yvonne behind. It was the first time she would be sleeping with Cole in a setting with so many familiar faces around. It was a little embarrassing, but mostly it was exciting. It had been days since she'd gotten her punishment. While Cole was still in the pool, enjoying a solitary swim, Yvonne scurried into the bathroom to shower. She emerged, humming to herself, and put on the special outfit she'd brought for tonight. A short, white, button-down shirt tied at her midriff, an impossibly short black skirt, and a pair of black, thigh-high fishnet stockings. She looked at herself in the mirror and blushed. It was a bit much, but then again, compared to what the other 3 did to satisfy his quirks, this was practically tame. Just as she was climbing into bed, her phone rang. No, it can't be, she thought. It was Gregwin. Hello, Ms. Wong. My apologies for the late hour, but I've just arrived at the hotel. Is Mr. Chun available? Let me ask him. Please hold on, Mr. Wen, she said, her voice perfectly professional. She walked out to the pool, holding the phone. Cole surfaced, his eyes widening as he took in her outfit. A fire ignited in his chest. Mr. Chun, Yvonne said, her tone all business as she sat on the top step of the pool, her legs in the water. She held up the phone screen to show the active call. Mr. What has arrived? He's asking if you have time to meet. I do, Cole replied, his voice equally serious. He swam over, his hand reaching out under the water to feel the texture of the black fishnet against her thigh. It was smooth, not abrasive at all. Tell him we can meet at the hotel's outdoor restaurant in half an hour. Yvonne's lips parted slightly, her eyes flashing a hint of protest, mixed with a submissive allure. She shifted her leg as if to pull away, but her bottom remained firmly planted on a step. Her voice was steady as she relayed the message. Mr. We can see you in half an hour at the outdoor restaurant. Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Wong. After hanging up, Yvonne placed the phone on the dry pavement. She turned to Cole, her face now a mask of theatrical panic. No, boss, please don't, she whispered, her voice tight with feigned fear. Don't what? Cole felt a fire burning hotter inside him. Yvonne's greatest talent was her commitment to the role. Let me go. It's late. My parents are waiting for me. She pleaded, her legs kicking weakly in the water. No, I don't want to. Let me go. For the next 20 minutes, the only sounds were the gentle lapping of the waves and the soft, desperate pleas of a secretary who might or might not have been trying very hard to escape. When they arrived at the restaurant, Cole was once again the mature, stable CEO in a floral shirt and shorts, and Yvonne was the poised, elegant VP. The restaurant was a series of platforms built along the beach, with the ocean just feet away. At a table on the outer edge sat a slightly heavy-set man in his mid-30s. It was Gregwin. He stood up, his face beaming. Mr. Chun, a pleasure. They shook hands, and after the initial pleasantries and ordering of drinks, the small talk began. Finally, after 10 minutes, Gregwin got to the point. Mr. Chun, I won't lie. I came here to ask for your help. You're too kind, Mr. If there's something I can do, please just ask. Cole waved a hand dismissively. Just say your piece. If the terms are right, we'll talk. You've probably heard. My main investor pulled out. Our funding is gone. Greg's face fell. To be honest, I never saw this coming. I made a lot of bold promises, and now I've fallen flat on my face. It's a total humiliation. And what is it you're proposing? Cole asked, playing dumb, forcing Greg to say it himself. I was wondering if Mr. Chun had any interest in getting into e-commerce. Gatherly has everything in place. We're just missing the capital. His eyes were a mixture of nervousness and hope. Cole remained silent, letting the pause hang in the air. Everything's ready. We just need that spark. Everything's ready but the east wind. More like the whole thing was already in bankruptcy proceedings. He wasn't thinking about investing. He was thinking about how much it would cost to buy the wreckage for parts. The silence stretched on. Just as Greg was about to give up hope, Cole finally spoke. Mr. I'm going to be honest with you. I hope you won't take offense. Please, Mr. Chun, I'm prepared. I have no plans to invest. Not now, and not for the foreseeable future. Cole's gaze was direct, piercing. Greg's heart sank. It was a rejection. He'd flown all this way for nothing. However, Cole continued. Greg's eyes lit up. However what? Are you interested in getting some of your principal back? Cole asked, flipping the script. He wouldn't offer to buy. He would offer a rescue. What do you mean? The light in Greg's eyes dimmed, but didn't go out completely. Selling was better than a total loss. It offered a shred of dignity. Mr. Is the company's liquidation complete? What assets are left? Have the vendor security deposits been returned? Cole's tone was no longer humble. He was a predator who had sinned blood. If you have a clear report on all that, there might be a way for you to recover some of your costs and get back into the game business. Yvonne listened, saying nothing. She watched her man transform from a sincere, humble young peer into a confident, masterful hunter. The man in the pool and the man at this table were two completely different people. A hot flush spread through her. God, she thought, her eyes sparkling, I can't wait to get back to the villa so this man can properly discipline me.